Hokage give me a face. Bleach Chapter 101-120. Chapter 101 _ Leave at night. You can understand it this way. Aizen nodded, obviously in a good mood because most of the things were missing. Do it well, I will apply for you to be the vice captain after a while. I don't expect it at all. Ichimaru Silver shook his head. There are so many things to do in the third seat, isn't it more annoying to be the vice captain? When I was the vice captain, I contracted all the official duties of the team. Aizen pushed her glasses. I don't think you are just the vice captain. Are you going to give me the captaincy? I wouldn't give it to you, but there are still several vacant captain positions in the 13th episode of Gote. Yizan. Siphon Yuan Yi stopped Yizan, who was patrolling the 36th district with his subordinates. Why are you here? Yizan looked at Siphon Yuan Yi, who suddenly appeared in surprise. Isn't this the patrol area code of the 10th division? I came to find you specially. Siphon Yuan said. Yi hooked Yizan's neck and walked to the corner. Wait, what's the situation? Yizan struggled symbolically for a while, and instructed the rest of the 10th division. 777 You guys continue to patrol. In other words, although eldest sister Yi is a bit more manly, her breasts are really predictable, and this elasticity. Stinky boy, what are you thinking? Look at your squinty expression. As soon as they walked to a secluded corner, Siphon Yuan let go of Yizan's hand, and then slapped Yizan on the forehead. I ready to go. Are you dragging me over and leaving? Yizan looked at her brightly. Sister, are you too bored to come and play with me? What I said to go is not the same as what you understand to go. Ah, Yizan blinked and suddenly realized, going to run away with Kazuki Urahara. Then your sister. Siphon Yuan Yi's eyes were sharp. We have business affairs. Yizan didn't speak, just looked at her with a half smile but not a smile, making Siphon Yuan feel embarrassed for a while. I'll just leave after a while. I came to see you because I want to ask you a few things. Aren't you going to investigate the evidence that Aizen planned that incident? This is gone. It's not like your character. I always feel like I'm being followed lately. Siphon Yuan Yi said. I can't find out anything like this. Being followed. Yizan looked left and right, and said to himself, Aizen's work efficiency is still quite high. It seems that he also has a lot of subordinates in the corpse soul world. Stop talking about that. After I leave, I want to ask you to take care of my brother. Your brother? Yizan was very embarrassed, looking at Siphon Yuan Yi and didn't know what to do. Lao Su is walking the line of male gods, and he is a solid arm that girls can rely on. But, I'm not a nursery here. Sisters. His name is Yushiro, and his personality is a bit. Siphon Yuan scratched his hair in embarrassment. Anyway, he's a little shy, and I'm worried about leaving him alone, so please take care of him when you have time. Quote. There's something I've wanted to say for a long time. What? Siphon Yuan Yi looked at Yizan with puzzled eyes. What are you going to say? You don't want to confess to me, do you? Confess. Yizan sneered and pointed at himself. I ask you, do I look like a nursery director? Huh. I won't say anything about that fellow Zaragi Kenpachi. Kusaka Yakiryu, Rukia, Asane Renji. Now you want to bring me a Shifunjin Yushiro. This. Siphon Yuan Yi looked at him with anger, obviously a little embarrassed. Rukia is still with you. Otherwise. Yizan snorted coldly. It's really stressful to be a reliable person. Since you know it's because you're reliable, then do me a favor. Siphon Yuan put his hand on Yizan's shoulder with a smile. Eldest sister, I trust you so much, don't you think? Hee. Yushiro is very obedient. I have already agreed with him. He promised to treat you like me. Not a girl, not interested at all. He looks a lot like me. Yizan raised his eyebrows and looked at the knight of the Siphon courtyard, and let out a disdainful snort. So, eldest sister, where did you get your confidence? Boy, don't you deserve a beating? I'm stating the facts. You have only 2 lumps of flesh to see. How can you use your appearance as a selling point to sell your brother? The one who responded to Yizan was Saifeng Yuan Yi's 2 slaps. After venting his anger, the refreshed Saifeng Yuan clapped his hands. That's it, my brother, please. Why don't you go to Bai Zai? Do you have a better relationship with their family? Saifeng Yuan smiled slightly, because you seem to be more reliable than him. Thank you very much for your affirmation, eldest sister. Yizan sighed weakly. I will try my best. Alright, take another one. Could it be that this is the rhythm of Lao Tzu to take in all the minors in the Soul Society? Then I have to calculate, how many minors with names? Young Mori Peach, Hitsugaya Tushiro, Sharode Luli Chio. Awesome. ... Saifeng Yuan Yi defected. Close black lens bracket. The news spread like wings in Jingling Court, and everyone knew it in less than half a day. At this time, it had been a day since Yi Yilai said goodbye to Yizan. Yamamoto Shigekuni reacted most violently to this, but there was nothing he could do. I can only call Yizan to educate him. The last person she saw was you. Shigekuni Yamamoto asked. Maybe. Yizan shrugged. Do you know what she's going to do? She didn't tell me. How do I know? Yizan said calmly. Don't tell me that before you are ready to run away. Will the whole world know about it by shouting? She's gone. What I want to know now is, what do you think? Yamamoto Shigekuni looked at Yizan inquiringly. What are your thoughts? No idea. Yizan looked at Shigekuni Yamamoto with a serious face. At least he's not going to follow them to the world. What do you know about the experiments of Kazuki Urahara and others? Old man Yamamoto, you look down on me too much. In fact, I don't know anything. I just followed them while they were running away. Chapter 102-fill vacancy. About the matter you helped the betrayal before. It is not long after you became the captain, and now Jingling Court is busy with affairs. The confinement is temporarily not needed, and a year's salary is a warning. Do you have any opinions? Is it useful to have an opinion? Yizan asked rhetorically. It's useless. Then you still ask me if I have any opinion. Yizan looked at him speechlessly. Can I ask you for it if I have no money? It's punishment. Yamamoto Shigekuni's tone was firm. It's not just for others to see. Why are you so serious? Yizan didn't care about Yamamoto Shigekuni's stern tone. Do you think it's possible? Yamamoto Shigekuni slapped the table, his anger soaring. Go out. Go. It's so cruel. Yizan sneered lightly. Then I'm leaving, bye. Pushing open the door, a tall figure outside blocked all the way out. Yizan raised his head, but did not see the face of the person who came, but only saw a huge wooden helmet. Komamura left formation. Kobold. Akita dog. Several key words flashed across Yizan's mind. By the way, he became the captain of the 7th Division after Aikawa Luowu left. One of the confidants that Dongxian wants. Range. Yizan said lightly. Sorry. Komamura Zojin stepped aside. Even so, when his tall body stood there, it was still in the way. He obviously found this too, and the whole person could not wait to stick to the wall. Honest. It is indeed the character of a loyal dog. ... Deputy Captain appointment. Yizan waved away the hell butterfly that was staying at his fingertips. Zibo Heian tisk tisk tisk. This is troublesome, so he doesn't know Meiyazi yet. The 3rd seat of the 13th Division. That is a great beauty. He walked into the yard and saw Rukia, who was seriously practicing swordsmanship. You don't have to be so serious during the holidays. How is it going to live in Kuchiki's house? I have to work hard to catch up with the big brother, so I can't relax for a day. You're like that in Kuchiki's house. Didn't Faye really tell you? Girls dance with knives and guns at home. No, my sister is very envious of me. Rukia said, feeling a little depressed. Living in Jingling Court without spiritual power will shorten her lifespan. Everyone has their own choice. So I insisted on staying in the 10th Division, and my sister didn't object. I'm going. Am I being confessed by Rukia? Is this a confession? Yizan looked at Rukia for a while, and finally said nothing. A friend of mine just became vice captain and I have to go and congratulate him. Rukia nodded and said expectantly, can you take me with you? Yizan nodded, he and Baizai are also good friends, you should get to know them. Let's go. Wait. A Sanjing Renji came running from a distance sweating profusely, just in front of them. Where are you going? The eyes that usually look fierce, this will be even more violent. Let's go to the 13th division. Rukia glanced at Yizan. What are you going there for? Rionji Sanjing looked like she was about to break the casserole and asked to the end. Yizan also has official business, so what are you going to do? Is this kid when I don't exist? This picture of a husband forcing his wife to go out is really annoying. Yizan stretched out his hand with lightning speed. Bah! A Sanjing Renji slammed his head into the wall, and then slowly slid down against the wall. Yizan clapped his hands, turned his head and said to Rukia, let's go. Yes. Rukia happily agreed, without even looking at Renji Sanjing. Wait for me, Rukia. Sanjing Renji grabbed his head and got up from the ground, stumbled after them. ... She is your daughter. Zibo Heian looked at Rukia who was following Yizan. How big is she? When did I have a daughter? Yizan turned to Byakugan. This is Baizai's sister. Zibo Heian turned pale when she heard the words, and jumped in front of Rukia, making her take a few steps back. Master Kang Chun has a daughter. This IQ. To be precise, it's Byakuya's wife, Kuchiki Hygiena's younger sister. Her name is Rukia. Yizan raised his eyebrows. Rukia, this is Shiba Heian. The Shiba family and the Kuchiki family are family friends. Nice kind. Big brother Zibo. Rukia hurriedly saluted. Sanjing Renji consciously followed and saluted. Don't be so serious, just call me Heian. Zibo Heian laughed heartily. While they were talking, Kuchiki Byakuya also came over. Because of the captain's betrayal, he also graduated early and entered the 13th division of Gote, and is now starting from the grassroots in the 6th division. You are here too, Byakuya Kuchiki said lightly. Yizan only felt a cold wind blowing. Brother Baizai, in fact, you should show yourself properly, don't be so cold. Yizan slapped him on the back, causing him to stumble several steps. Looking at you, they were so frightened that they didn't dare to say anything. I'm not afraid to speak. Zibo Heian clarified seriously, I'm just trying to figure out how to answer. Don't dare to speak is just a description. Yizan turned to Byakugan. Brother Baizai also came to congratulate Heian on becoming the vice captain. Byakuya Kuchiki nodded lightly. Call, _ Cold wind blows. Why don't you come in and sit down? Zibo Heian said under inexplicable pressure. Baizai has become like this, I'm really not used to it. This is called overcorrection. Yizan nodded in agreement. Obviously he is a violent boy, how can he be so crooked when he looks like this? I don't understand either. Zibo Heian echoed with a smile. I really miss the days when he used to chase Yi and call the cat demon. Damn, one or two can't speak. Yizan silently looked at Zibo Heian, who consciously lost his words, so embarrassedly wiped his nose. Don't touch it, there's a birthmark on your nose, and it won't go away if you touch it 100 times. Wiping your nose is a way to express embarrassment. My birthmark is so different, I never wanted to remove it. Zibo Heian said in a plausible manner, standing at attention after seeing the person walking by from a distance, Captain Floating Bamboo. Chapter 103 Broken Bees come to the door. I heard that a guest came to the door, so I came over to have a look. Shiro Yukitaki smiled gently. Yizan, I heard that you made the teacher angry again. He's so angry, you don't need to provoke him. Yizan shrugged. Congratulations, you can finally get out of the team. It's Miyako's job that can be much easier. I'm not in good health and I can only do a lot of things. She does most of the work. Shiro Yukitaki coughed twice. We are far away from the other squads. It's rare to have guests here, so come in and sit down. Captain, If you're not feeling well, don't move around. Mizuno Miyako came from a distance. Everyone, please come with me. Although the 13th division is not in the center of Jingling Court, the scenery is so beautiful. Even the air is fresher than ours. Because the captain is not in good health, the team building was built in the suburbs. Yuya Miyako added tea to the cups in front of everyone. The room is also made of special materials, which can isolate most reiatsu. Compared to that, I am more envious of Captain Uzumaki having 3 seats like Miyako. Yizan looked at Miyako Mizuya seriously. Captain Uzumaki already has a vice captain, why don't you leave Miss Miyako to me? Shiro Yukitaki's hand froze while holding the teacup, and shook his head slowly but firmly, no way. Inner OS. After Liza Yahomaru, he finally stretched his claws to Miyako. I can't live without Miyako here, Ukiba said with a smile. After all, I am a captain who needs to recuperate, and teamwork is almost done by the players, so every team member is a very important existence. So mushy. This was the only feeling Yizan had when he heard this. So in order not to marry the goddess of death under his command, should they directly digest the internal digestion among their team members? Yizan's eyes shifted between Zibo Heian and Mizuno Miyako. Lao Su will definitely sabotage your conspiracy. After coming out of the 13th division, Rukia kept walking with her head down, looking preoccupied. Asanjin Renji followed her step by step, looking worried. What's wrong with this? Rukia shook her head. If you have anything to say, I don't want to be accused by Baizai Bingshan Xingxi, saying that I bullied his sister or something. Rukia pursed her lips in embarrassment. I'm thinking of Mizuno Miyako-senpai. Huh. She must be a very good woman to be valued as much by the captain. So this has something to do with your lost soul, girl. No matter how good she is just a woman, and if you are a man, you are almost a nympho. No, you shouldn't be a nympho even if you are a man, right? Is there a better man than me in the Soul Society? I've decided that from today, Mizuno Miyako will be my idol. Rukia said, clenching her fists, her eyes full of fighting spirit. I still don't understand what's going on. Yuhi Mao, do you know? Yizan looked at Rukia, who was inexplicably excited, and had no idea what was going on with her sudden shock. I don't know. Asanjin Renji shook his head honestly. Why is Miyako Mizuno your idol? Because I want to be like her, and the captain can't be separated. Rukia said, full of fighting spirit, smart and gentle, very beautiful, and powerful, can stand in the 3 seats as a woman. Position. I want to be like her. Quote. It wasn't me who poured cold water. You guys have never had a relationship with gentleness in your life. Asanjin Renji made a disdainful expression of picking his nostrils, and ran away when Rukia chased after him. Young. Gee. In other words, they should have entered the school in 50 years. Asani Renji and Kira Izuru, Hinamori Momo is the iron triangle. Kira Izuru will leave him alone. It is better to snatch Hinamori Momo from Aizen come over. Although the girl is a little stupid, she is also cute when she is simple. There is also a buy one get one free Toshiro Hitsugaya. However, before that, we should get Matsumoto Ranju first. In this case, I can see her sexy figure every day. The 10th team is swaying. And the neckline of the death tyrant that will never be pulled up. Thinking of this, Yi Xuan smiled. What's the matter with your expression? A cold female voice sounded on the opposite side. Yi Zan stopped abruptly, and deleted the images that were not suitable for children in his mind. Why are you here? The person standing in the captain's room with a gloomy face, who else is there besides Broken Bee? The expression on her face can be described as very complicated, but what Yi Xuaning caught immediately was sadness, loss, anger. How does it look like a teacher asking for guilt? I've never done anything like that. Master Yi saw you last. By the way, for her, it was Saifeng Yuan Yi, not me. I forgot that this guy is a master. Yeah, Yizan nodded, but she didn't say anything to me. So don't look at me with such sad eyes. I can't bear it. If she didn't say anything, why did she go to find you specifically? With a look like you must be lying to me, Sufeng stared at Yizan for a while. She just asked me to take care of her younger brother. Yizan covered his face. She was the one who abandoned you, not me. It's no use staring at me like that. Who was abandoned 3.0? Broken Bee bit Kiba and asked, who was abandoned? Excuse me, girl, you exude the resentment of being abandoned from head to toe. Why is she leaving? Yizan looked at Broken Bee looking like he was about to cry at any time, and said half-truth, run away with Kazuki Urahara. Urahara Kazuki, that traitor. Yeah, he has a good relationship with Yoichi. Impossible, you lied to me. Broken Bee had an unacceptable expression on her face. As the commander of the secret mobile corps, how could she betray for such a thing? Because love makes people blind. Yizan came to the back of Broken Bee. Don't you know that it is very dangerous to be alone in the same room? Especially when the strength is disparate. Chapter 104_tune. Play. What do you want to do? Broken Bee looked at Yizan who was getting closer and closer, his muscles tensed. Because I feel that you are lost now, you make me want to comfort. Yizan held Brobe's hand. Actually, when Yi asked me to take care of Yushiro, I also asked me to take care of you. Hearing this, Broken Bee shook his hands and bit Kiba. I don't need anyone to take care of me. Girls with tough mouths are also very cute. Yizan smiled slightly. Aren't you particularly desperate after finding out that Yi left you behind? Feeling abandoned by the whole world? I don't. You must have rummaged through the covert mobile team in the 2nd Division before accepting the fact. I don't. Then I started to find out the reason for Yi's betrayal. He is obviously the head of the Sifeng family, one of the 4 great nobles. How could he betray so easily without any reason? When Yizan said this, Broken Bee was silent. For the nobles who guard their honor, the betrayal of the head of the family is absolutely unacceptable to the subordinates and the small family they are attached to. Then you tried your best to find out that I was the last person Yi saw. So I came here. I want to know why. As I said, the reason is that she wants to run away with Urahara Kazuki. Yizan shrugged. Although she helped Urahara Kazuki and others escape from the world of corpses to the world, but old man Yamamoto didn't intend to pursue it. She didn't have to leave, isn't it? So, there's only one reason left. She's running away with Kazuki Urahara. What is Kazuki Urahara? It's just a subordinate. It's because they knew that you would object, so they eloped. Yizan hugged her when the Broken Bee was so surprised. Whoa! The door opened. Broken Bee suddenly recovered, pushed Yizan away, and jumped out directly from the window. The eyes of Rukia and Asane Renji moved back and forth between the window and Yizan. Ah, that was it just now. Rukia walked into the captain's room stiffly and put the teapot in her hand on the table. I think I saw someone go out. Ah, someone went out. Yizan nodded calmly. I have to knock on the door when I come in, you know. Rukia nodded stiffly. That. I ran for tea. Thank you for your hard work. Yizan touched Rukia's head. Is there anything else? No. Rukia took a step back. I'll go first. After saying that, he closed the door with a snap. So it's really a hassle to raise a child, or at least you can touch it a few more times. The bear children will scare people away as soon as they come. 11th team. Tell your captain to come out. Zaraki Janba carelessly carried the bamboo sword. I want to challenge him. Zaraki Kenpachi's death god let out a sneer. What a joke, is the captain able to challenge anyone casually? As long as you beat the captain, you can be the captain. Don't you understand words? Captain is not something you can challenge. Then let's fight. Zaragi Kenpachi looked at the person blocking him. If someone blocks me, then it's good to fight. A person who doesn't even have Zanpakuto is not qualified to challenge. The death god said, turning to leave. Swish. The cracking sound sounded. A scarred bamboo knife blocked his way. If you don't, just grab one. Zanaki Kenpachi grinned. If you lose, give me your Zanpakuto. What a joke, how can you use my Zanpakuto? No, how could I lose to you? A true student. Go back to class. Snapped. Before he finished speaking, he only felt a pain in the back of his neck, and then collapsed to the ground. So weak. Zaraki Kenpachi curled his lips in disdain, bent down to pick up his Zanpakuto, and walked into the 11th Division. Who is it? Several 11th Division Reaper who heard the movement looked at Zaraki Kenpachi. The Zanpakuto in his hand seems to be Morimura's. What is it like? It is. Morimura was just talking to him outside. It's been so long, how come Zanpakuto was taken away? Because it's too weak. Makes sense. Zaraki Kenpachi frowned as he looked at them running as if no one was talking. Where's your captain? Of course the captain is in the captain's room. One of them said indifferently, what are you looking for with the captain? Challenge. Zaraki Kenpachi threw away the bamboo sword and held Zanpakuto, who had just received it, in his hand. I want to be the captain. Our captain is very strong. If you challenge it casually, people will die. It was also because of the fact that Zaraki Kenpachi had already brought down a team member. They did not laugh at his intentions, but persuaded him a few words. It's interesting. Zaraki Kenpachi flashed fighting intent in his eyes. He's very strong, so it's interesting to fight. Since you've sent you to your door looking for death, we can't stop you. What's your name? Zaraki Kenpachi. Huh, the person who asked the question was stunned, and 160 asked again in surprise, what's it called? He said his name was Zaragi Kenpachi. Before Kenpachi could answer, his companion answered his question. You kid, do you know the meaning of Kenpachi? How dare you say that you are called Zanaki Kenpachi? The strongest god of death. Zaragi Kenpachi chuckled, of course it's called that because he knows it. It's so arrogant. If it's called Kenpachi, the captain will definitely take action, right? Sure. The two talking looked at each other, and then one of them threw a sentence. You wait, I'll go and tell the captain. Wait, turned around and ran. Looks like we'll have to wait for a while, why don't we practice our hands? Zaragi Kenpachi's gaze fell on the remaining three. 5 or 6 people were lying on the ground. This is the scene that Wusuk of Guiancheng, who hurried over after receiving a report from his subordinates, saw it. Among them, there were 3 people at the beginning, as well as those who came back from the mission and were caught by Kenpachi's Akagi. You're the man who calls himself Zanaki Kenpachi. Wusuk Guiancheng looked at Zanaki Kenpachi. You want to challenge me? That's why it's called that name. Chapter 105-11th Team Captain. Wrong. Zaragi Kenpachi walked over. I challenged you because of your name. Ghost Rock City Gosuk laughed, apparently not taking Kenpachi's words seriously. Since you are a student, you should study well in the school. Why do you want to do this kind of death-seeking thing? This spiritual pressure. Yizan looked up at the window in surprise. It was the Reiatsu of Zaragi Kenpachi, and the one who confronted him was Ghost Rock Castle. This kid is quite fast. Yizan looked at the position of the 11th first team in the distance. My little brother is fighting, I should go to see it anyway. Captain. As soon as Yizan came out of the captain's room, the 10th team members who did not perform their tasks stuck their heads out one after another. Why? Everyone pushed and shoved for a while, and finally the 3 seats Maya Terudoro was pushed out. Captain. Maya Terudoro was a little embarrassed under Yizan's gaze, but still said, we want to apply to watch the battle of the captain of the 11th division. As soon as he finished speaking, the others also picked up the job. I heard that someone challenged the captain of the 11th division. It's not very common to see a captain's fight. I didn't see the battle between the captain and the chief captain some time ago, and this time I can't miss anything. Yizan glanced at the crowd, nodding indiscriminately. Okay, leave 2 people to watch the door. After saying that, he turned around and left. Rukia and Asane Renji, who came over when they heard the movement, consciously followed, and threw those disputes behind the Holy Queen. I don't know if the fight between Jonpachi and Ghost Rock City will be over after they decide to stay behind. Yizan showed a nasty smile on his face. Asanjing Renji looked at Yizan with shocked eyes. How sinister. Rukia nodded in agreement. Yizan rubbed Rukia's head vigorously. Have any opinions? No, Rukia flatly denied. They were played because they were stupid. Yizan nodded with satisfaction. How good. 11th team. Can't even pull out Zanpakuto. Ghost Rock City looked at Kenpachi Zengeki disdainfully. I just grabbed it, but it's still not easy to use. Zaragi Kenpachi said indifferently, giving up the idea of pulling out Zanpakuto. Just fight like this. I've seen a lot of people looking for death, but it's the first time I've seen someone like you. Ghost Rock City Wusuk pulled out Zanpakuto. Since you don't give up, I won't put water on it because you don't have a knife. Before he could finish speaking, a gust of wind blew by, and he only felt his shoulders go numb, and he almost let go of the hand holding the knife. What a powerful force. Surprise flashed in his eyes, then fear. If the knife that hit him just now was an unsheathed knife, the arm would probably be useless. It turns out that even the captain is so weak. Zakagi Kenpachi looked disdainful. There are a lot of people. Yizan looked at the death gods who surrounded the 11th team up, down, left and right. Captain Yizan. Seeing Yizan, the people standing on the periphery quickly stepped aside and pushed the person in front by the way. This is the advantage of Captain Yori. Black and white are clear. As long as he is not blind, even a colorblind can know that the captain is here. Yizan walked inside from the road that everyone let out, just in time to see Guiancheng Wusuk slashing Zengi Kenpachi together. Unscathed. The body's surface is covered with a powerful reiatsu. There was a sound of inhalation around, and looking at Kenpachi Zaragi looked like he was looking at a monster. Isn't he Zaraki Kenpachi? Asanjing Renji pointed at Zaragi Kenpachi, who had fought inextricably with Guiancheng's 5 assistants, with an expression that his eyes were about to fall out. Yuhi Mao, calm down. Yizan scratched his ears in disgust. Rukia didn't pay. What's your name? I'm surprised. Can't you see it? Renji Asani stared at Zanpakuto in Kenpachi's hand. When did he have Zanpakuto? Why didn't he draw his sword? How could someone use Zanpakuto like this? Actually, that's my Zanpakuto, said a Grim Reaper beside them weakly. It's strange that he can pull it out. As a dead ant, even Zanpakuto was taken away. Asanjing Renji let out a disdainful sneer. So weak. It was that guy who attacked. Morita Kazuo explained loudly, but he is really strong. Nonsense, he can fight with the captain, of course he is very strong. Asanjing Renji said angrily. Rukia watched the increasingly fierce battle on the field and pulled Yizan's clothes. Why can't Zanpakuto hurt him? That doubtful and curious look instantly captured Yizan's heart. It's like having a cute pet. Flat-chested loli or something. I feel like I can find time to communicate with Uncle Jingle about the knowledge of loli development. Zaraki Kenpachi's body is covered with spiritual pressure, and Zanpakuto is also an external manifestation of spiritual power, so ordinary attacks cannot break through his physical defenses. After Yizan's explanation, the audience sighed suddenly. At this time, there was a whole commotion in the distance. Who is that? I don't seem to have seen it before. A desperately low voice sounded. The Shinigami next to the person who spoke stared at the battle between Zaragi Kenpachi and Anawaho Gosuk without blinking, and replied, the newly appointed captain of the 7th Division, Kashiwamura Zojin, used to be outside on missions. Yes, I was transferred back recently and was directly promoted to captain. The captain of the 7th Division. It looks so mysterious. The person who got the answer exclaimed. The face under his helmet has never been seen. Yizan glanced over and saw that Komamura Zojun and Dongxian were standing together. To Yizan's eyes, Dongxian nodded slightly. The righteous boy is here. Yizan shook his head slightly. I'll have fun later. Rukia raised her head suspiciously when she heard Yizan's words. Watch them fight well, you will die if you lose. Yizan patted her head, and did not continue to explain even after seeing Rukia's puzzled eyes. By the way, will Zakagi Kenpachi lose this time? This guy actually lost Zanpakuto. In case the Ghost Rock City Wusuk comes to Shikai Bankai, what can he do with a Zanpakuto that can't be pulled out and can only be used as a stick? Chapter 106 _ The name of Kenpachi. Yizan looked at Zengmu Kenpachi's increasingly excited expression, and shook his head helplessly. It looks like this guy is playing the so-called fun to fight trick again. Gosuk Guiyancheng looked at Kenpachi Zakagi, who seemed to be invincible, and sweat dripped from his forehead. Isn't he at Bankai? It's a bit boring. Zaragi Kenpachi smiled mockingly, with such a little strength, can you be a captain? The chatter around was getting louder and louder. If you lose in the presence of so many people. Ghost Rock City Wusuk suddenly felt the mood of the previous 11th Division captain. At that time, he also fought under the spectators of the squad members, and finally lost to himself and died tragically. No, I will not lose. Ghost Rock City Wusuke's eyes brightened, and he raised it to stab Zaraki Kenpachi. Just be quicker, be quicker. Everyone has weaknesses. As long as you are quicker, the weakness of the person in front of you will definitely be found. Bah! Zaraki Kenpachi used his arm to block the knife that Guiyancheng Wusuk was slashing at. If you continue to tickle me like this, I will be very welcome. Do you have the consciousness of death? The muscles in his hands bulged, accompanied by a strange sound that made Kiba sour. Snapped. Zanpakuto was actually crushed by Zanpakuto Sword 783-8. Wusuk Guiyancheng looked at Zanpakuto, who was easily broken in his hand, in shock, and he was so stiff that he couldn't even do the movement to avoid it. The broken blade, shining with cold light, hit the target without the slightest deviation. Yizan covered Rukia's eyes thoughtfully. This kind of bloody scene, the little girl should not watch it. Blood poured out of the mouth of the Ghost Rock City Wusuk. He slowly lowered his head and looked at Zanpakuto stuck in his neck with a shocked and relieved look. Unexpectedly, in the end, he was killed by his own Zanpakuto. From now on, there will be only one Sword 8. After he finished saying this, he fell to the ground on his back. I will be the captain of the 11th Division in the future. Zaragi Kenpachi wiped off the blood splattered on his face. Is there anyone here to challenge me? I haven't had enough fun yet. In his arrogant laughter, the illegitimate students of the 11th team who were watching all retreated, and Morita Kazuo, who was robbed of Zanpakuto by Kenpachi Zaraki, took a few steps back, and the whole person almost did not hide behind Yizan. He just feels happy now. It's great to have a little life left. This guy even killed the captain. Zanpakuto saw his movements, smiled inexplicably, and threw the Zanpakuto that was still unsheathed. Morita Kazuo didn't dare to pick it up. Looking at his knife was like looking at a flood of beasts. This knife is useless, take it back. Zaraki Kenpa said with a mocking tone, then bent over to pick up Zanpakuto of Anawaho Gosuk. Because of the death of his master, Zanpakuto of Gosuk took off his Shikai appearance and lay quietly on the ground. The broken blade showed its miserable appearance, and the other was still inserted into the neck of Oniwa Castle Gosuk. However, the moment Zanpakuto's hand touched the hilt, the Zanpakuto that had been broken was restored in full view. It's just that the shape has also changed, and the bumpy and chipped blade looks very infiltrating. Of course, it's also a little sloppy. Shikai, I ran, astonished voice sounded behind Yizan. Captain Aizen also came to see the fun. Yizan turned to look at him. The team members have all come to watch the fun, and I can't avoid it. Aizen pushed his glasses. The people who can be with Captain Yizan are really strong. Captain Aizen is joking. Kenpachi is really strong, but it's not because he is with me. Yizan said with a humble expression on his face. Lan Ran thought that she knew Yizan well enough, and when she heard this, she couldn't help but look at Yizan a few more times. Captain Yizan is really humble. Over the top, over the top. It takes only one fight to get the approval of Zanpakuto from others, and even Shikai as soon as you get started, he's clearly stronger than he's shown. Aizen's analysis was based on clues, and there was no mistake. Yizan nodded slightly, confirming his guess. Fourth squad. Janba, Ujawali's subordinates exerted force, and the wounded who was bandaged by it let out a painful wailing. Captain, Hu Qianyan sympathetically looked at the wounded who was sweating in pain but dared not struggle. What's the matter with you? It's nothing. Ujawali smiled slightly, and threw the gauze roll in his hand to his deputy. I'll go out, you can take care of things here first. Yes. Toru Yanyan took the gauze, wrapped the loose part around his hand, and then asked curiously, where is the captain going? Team 11. Don't the captain dislike the captain of Ghost Rock City? Tiger Toru Yanyan looked at the back of Uzuru Hanaru puzzledly, then pulled off the bandage on his hand, and began to bandage it neatly. Deputy Captain, take it easy. The wounded moaned feebly. Don't get hurt if you're afraid of pain. You're like a man when you're hurt. Hu Qianyan snorted coldly, tying the knot without any pause. Next. ... Sure enough, it's you, Kenpachi Zakagi. At this time, the onlookers dispersed, and even the illegitimate children of the 11th Division made their own excuses to hide away. Seeing with their own eyes that a guy who came out of nowhere kills a captain they've always thought was awesome. They need a little time to accept that fact. At the scene, only Yizan was watching Kenpachi Zaraki's brutal act of peeling off the body. Rukia was driven away by the reason that it was not easy for a child to see the dead. Asanjing Renji, as a flower protector whose love is hard to open in his heart, naturally he followed wherever Rukia went, so he also disappeared from Yizan. There are only 3 people in the empty 11th team training ground. Yizan, Zengmu Janba, Mao Zhawali. Captain Ujawa Tilda. Yizan greeted Ujawali with a smile. I haven't seen you for a few days, but you are still the same radiant face. Karatsu Uno nodded casually, and looked at Kenpachi Zaraki who was stripping Captain Haori from Gosuke Anawaho. Chapter 107_Unohana's Generation. When Zaraki Kenpachi heard someone call his name, he was also looking at Uno Hanaritsu who came over. Women. Very good, he can finally distinguish between men and women. It can be seen that he has not lived in vain for so many years. Yizan looked at the two back and forth, and was a little dissatisfied with Mao Zhawali's attitude of ignoring her. Captain Ujawa is so partial. When I was the captain, I didn't see you rushing over to see me. Yizan walked to Kenpachi Zaraki. Because he is Kenpachi, that's why you treated him. Very good. Are you jealous? Ujawali showed a gentle smile, and the whole person exuded the light of healing motherhood. Can be called the female model of the soul world. However, Yizan knew her details. Named himself Bachinliu because he knew 8,000 kinds of swordsmanship. Now abandon evil and follow good, easily stop using force, and become a doctor. The reason was probably that she didn't meet someone she felt could be called an opponent. Yeah, I'm jealous. Yizan didn't deny it. Why don't Captain Ujawa comfort my wounded heart? I'm only in charge of treating wounds. If you have psychological problems, maybe Captain Namori can help you better. Forget it. Yizan smiled and approached Mao Zhawali. If I defeat you, I can make you pay attention to me. I am willing to fight for you. Hearing this, Mao Zhawali's eyes flashed. Really? Of course. But I promised Captain Yamamoto that I wouldn't draw the sword so easily. If you want to fight, you can come to me at any time. Yizan said without hesitation. I promise, I will be a man who can satisfy you. In every sense. As a female devil-level character, Mao Zhawali had probably never heard of such arrogant molesting, looked at Yizan up and down, and said with a smile after a long time, I remember. I will come to 4 when I am injured in the future. Team, I will personally wrap up for you. It sounds like a threat no matter what. Yizan rejected her. Kindness, I will try my best not to get hurt. ... Because of the murder of Ghost Rock City's 5 assistants, Yamamoto Shigekuni urgently held a captain-level meeting, which naturally brought the new captain of the 11th Division, Kenpachi Zakagi. Sitting on the only seat in the room, Yamamoto Shigekuni looked at Kenpachi Zengeki, who was standing in the middle carelessly. The latter put his arms around him and let him stare, apparently not feeling any pressure. Being the captain of the 13th chapter of Gotei is not enough to be strong enough. Yamamoto Shigekuni said, "Do you know how to be a captain?" "It's enough to be strong enough," said Zaragi Kenpachi indifferently. Although being strong is one aspect, it also needs to be recognized by the other members of the squad. Yamamoto Shigekuni frowned. "Are you ready to be the captain?" "Old man, didn't you say that you can replace the captain by defeating him?" "Don't be so crooked." Zakagi Kenpachi didn't have the patience to listen to Yamamoto Shigekuni's lectures, so he turned his head and pulled Yizan out. "Yizan, do you think so?" "That's right." Yizan nodded in the threatening eyes of Yamamoto Shigekuni, and added fuel to the fire. "Captain Zaraki." Yamamoto Shigekuni's face suddenly pulled the elder. After the meeting was over, he left Yizan behind and scolded him for covering his face. "What? I know that you encouraged him to challenge Ghost Rock City. Or, the influence of the previous captain and vice captain's mutiny has not been eliminated. Why are you making trouble at this juncture? He is a powerful fighting force. How much is it to be wasted on Junyang?" Yizan calmly picked up the teacup on the table, and poured himself a cup of tea leisurely. "Why don't you thank me for looking for Jingling Court? Such a powerful fighting force. Those who stop fighting like Zaraki Kenpachi." Yamamoto Shigekuni snorted coldly. "This kind of dangerous existence should not enter the Jingling Court. Why don't you say that he is more dangerous in Junyang? Maybe he will start a killing spree in the school at some point." Yizan raised his eyebrows. "You must know that the combat power of Junyang's students can't compare to the God of Death." Yamamoto Shigekuni looked at Yizan silently. "Since you brought it in, you will be responsible for him in the future." "What?" Yizan was completely bewildered by this divine stroke. "What will I be responsible for in the future?" "Zaraki Kenpachi. He's so old, why am I in charge?" Yizan stared at Yamamoto Shigekuni. "What's my business? You brought it in." Yamamoto Shigekuni was obviously very satisfied with Yizan's fried hair, although this was just a deliberately exaggerated performance by Yizan. "I don't care about the death of Ghost Rock City. Win the king or lose the bandit, he loses, isn't it natural to die?" Yizan shrugged. "Okay, I'll take care of him reluctantly. Is there nothing else? Then I'll go." "Wait. Anything else?" Yizan turned his head leisurely. "Can't you just finish it in one breath?" "I don't understand why you are interested in Uno Hanari." Yamamoto Shigekuni sighed deeply. "She is a woman of my generation." "Is she married?" Yizan asked back. "The implication is, if I don't get married, I like it if I like it, can you control it?" Yamamoto Shigekuni was not a fool either. He immediately understood what he meant, and the eyes he looked at Yizan suddenly changed. If he had to describe it, it was that he was looking at Yizan with the eyes he looked at pervert. It has been over 1,000 years since this old man founded the 13th Division of the Guardian, and Ujua is the first captain of the 11th Division. Yamamoto Shigekuni dared to look at Yizan. "How old are you this year?" "Old man, don't show your age. You are too old to be able to soak in the big sister Ujua. You have lived in vain for so many years. So you can't stop me from pursuing her." Yizan rubbed his nose and looked proud. Yamamoto Shigekuni looked at Yizan's proud and twitching appearance, and his beard was about to stand upside down with anger. After a long time, he suddenly smiled again. "You call me an old man, she is the same age as me, what should you call her?" "Eldest sister." Yizan coldly turned to Byakugan. "After all, she is as beautiful as a flower, she looks very young, and it is not in the same realm as an old orange peel like you." After he finished speaking, he threw down Shigekuni Yamamoto, who was so angry that he was trembling, and swaggered away. Chapter 108 Don't look for me. The days that followed were uneventful. That's weird. The threshold of the 10th Division is almost flattened by the various divisions who came to complain. Moreover, Those who stepped on his threshold were all captain-level figures. We are old now, and we can't compare to your young people's vitality. Kuchiki Silver Bell sat in the reception room with a standard posture, opposite Yizan. Sitting behind him was Kuchiki Byakuya, who had become more and more proficient in facial paralysis. Captain Deadwood is joking, you are old and strong and full of energy. Otherwise, you can't come here early in the morning and spend time with me. It seems that the 6th team is quite busy today, so Captain Kuchiki came to chat with me. Yi Xuanpi said with a smile. Only drank the tea for a long time. Do you think your orange peel face, which is the same as that of old man Yamamoto, is very pleasing to the eye? Change it to Maujawali, let Lousy drink it for a day and Lousy is willing. Forget it. I'm quite busy, Kuchiki Silver Suzu said. But you have been sitting here for almost all morning. Yizan complained bluntly, isn't it just to find me for tea? Even the tea leaves are brought with them. Your family is one of the 4 great nobles, isn't it? Half and half. A smile flashed in Silver Kuchiki's eyes. There are not many young people who can calm down and drink tea with this old man. Guakai, and you calm down and drink tea. I just took a nap with my eyes open just now. Yizan sneered in his heart, waiting for Deadwood Silverling to tell the reason why he was here. Captain Yamamoto said that only you can handle this matter. Oh. About the fact that Zaraki Kenpachi and Dongxian are going to fight, and it affects the 6th division. Yizan. I don't know what Captain Yizan is going to do. Why are you asking me how to deal with it? Toxian is the captain of the 9th division, Zakagi Kenpachi is the captain of the 11th division, and Lao Su is the captain of the 10th division. What's the matter with my father? In this case, since Dongxian wants to go out with Zengi Kenpachi, the 9th team turns left and the 11th team turns right when they go out. Captain Kuchiki came to the wrong place. I'm here to find you. Kuchiki Silverling smiled kindly. After all, this is the 3rd time this month that the 6th division has been affected by the battle between Zaragi Kenpachi and others. Listen to the vice captain of the 11th division. This month they have a huge deficit and can't pay for the maintenance of the team house. Then ask Dongxian to ask for it. Yizan remembered the eccentric Niyuli who had just sent away the day before yesterday. Komamura Zojin, who was only sent away last week, and Kiraku Chunsui and Shiba Heian who came countless times. Captain Tosin is only willing to pay half of the money. Kuchiki Silver Suzu stroked his smooth beard. After all, it's not good for Captain Zaraki to challenge anyone when he meets someone. The purpose of this old man looking for Captain Yamamoto is to hope he can manage Captain Zaraki, but he told me that he has left this matter to you. This fight, it's a common occurrence. After all, no one was killed. Kenpachi is also an adult. The 11th team can't afford the maintenance fee this month, so they can pay the next month. It's nothing. Big problem. Yi Shuenkai would not foolishly take over this kind of shit. Zaraki Kenpachi fought with someone and demolished someone else's team. Then tear it down. I'm still happy to see that old man Yamamoto has a lot of troubles, why should I take care of it? Still pushing people to me. I use it up, I don't care. After all, this fight is not about one person. It always takes 2 people to fight. Captain Kuchiki, do you think so? Yizan's eyes slid and fell on Kuchiki Byakuya. I dare say, Kenpachi and Byakuya will never fight. Byakuya, do you think so? Under the gazes of Yizan and Kuchiki Silverling, Byakuya nodded. Kuchiki Silver Suzu looked at his grandson who was on the verge of defecting, and was silent. Yamoto, I tried my best, you are not ordinary. Silver Suzu Kuchiki and Shigekuni Yamamoto were sitting in a row in the courtyard of the first team. Battle, to Shigekuni Yamamoto. A failed result. What's the matter with you? Ever since the other captains found out that it didn't make sense for Yizan, they all came back to him to reimburse him for their losses. Looking at the soaring maintenance costs, he only thought Alexander. Who will pay for the house demolished by Zaragi Kenpachi during this period? 11th team. As a combat team, this is the existence of absolutely no money. In fact, Yamamoto Shigekuni is paying the bill. He now regrets setting up the 11th division. If he defeats the previous Kenpachi, he will inherit the title, and he will also inherit the position of captain. This system has created one trouble after another. The most representative example is Mole City Shuangye. Obviously, if Tsuragi Kenpachi continues like this, sooner or later, he will follow Mochung Shuangye's footsteps. Thinking of this, Yamamoto Shigekuni felt uneasy, and wished to get Tsuragi Kenpachi out of Jingling Court immediately. Rather not. After all, it is Kenpachi that Unohana admires very much. This is known from the fact that after Tsuragi Kenpachi defeated the Gosuke of Oniwa Castle, she went to the 11th division specially. My grandson just listens to him, I have nothing to do. Kuchiki Silver said with emotion, I am old, and I should retire in 2 years. At that time, I gave the position to Byakuya, and I had nothing wrong. Don't worry, from now on, this is the world of young people. Among these young people, the most promising one is your little apprentice. Yamamoto Shigekuni raised an eyebrow in surprise. How do you say that? Yukataki, Jingle, Tsuragi, and Tosen all have a good relationship with him, right? There will be Byakuya in the future. Oh, I heard from 3.6 that Aizen has a good relationship with him. Ujiwa is also quite optimistic about him. It makes some sense to say that. You're getting old too, it's time to look at choosing a successor. Yamamoto Shigekuni was silent for a moment, then shook his head. It's too early to say this. That's right, before that, you have to make Kenpachi Zaraki stop harassing the normal activities of other divisions. Headache. Yamamoto Shigekuni sighed. It seems that I can only clean up myself. I didn't expect that kid to be so stubborn when he looked at him. Kuchiki Silverling glanced at him half-smile. Secret thought, you also say that others are not the same as yourself. Let another captain take care of the captain's affairs, who is willing to leave it. Chapter 109 _ Vice Captain. Old man Yamamoto taught you a lesson. Yizan raised his eyebrows and looked at the unhappy, skeptical Zaraki Kenpachi. Looking at you like this, it looks like you've lost your love. Old man Yamamoto taught me kendo, but I can't learn it. Tsuragi Kenpachi scratched his hair. What's the use of kendo? I can defeat all enemies by myself. Like me. The boss is the boss, how could it be the enemy? Said Kenpachi Zakagi. Let's not say anything else, the kung fu of flattering has improved a lot. Yizan looked at Kenpachi Zengmu who smiled murderously. Seriously, if you don't want to fight with people, stop laughing. Seeing you laugh like that ugly, I really want to hit people. Why don't we practice our hands? Zengmu Janpachi looked at Yizan with some anticipation. You can't use Zanpakudo, and you can't use ghosts, what's the point? Yizan glanced at Kenpachi Zengaki with disgust. If you're really bored, why don't you take more tasks and kill some fake money to pay you back? In what year and month the debt is 30? Quote. Zaraki Kenpachi looked around, pretending that he didn't understand anything. You don't need to lose money for the house you smashed when you killed Shu. Yizan reminded, kindly, you can let go of your hand and fight. I understand. Tsuragi Kenpachi nodded. I'm leaving, goodbye boss. Yeah, Kenpasang is really a polite and good boy. Yizan said this with emotion, and was satisfied to see Kenpachi's left foot stumble on his right, and he nearly fell a dog and eat shit. It can be seen that he needs Bachinliu girls to give him advice. ... Deputy Captain. For me. Yizan looked at Yamamoto Shigekuni in surprise. He actually wanted to let the former 10th Division captain, Shiba Isshin, who had not yet reached the level of captain, that is, the future Kurosaki Isshin. Anyway, no matter what he is, old man Yamamoto actually wants him to be the vice captain who is against it. How can this be promised? This is absolutely not acceptable. The position of the deputy captain is reserved for the girl. Girl, do you understand? Female, the kind that bulges forward and backward. Yizan compared a bumpy S-shaped figure, like this. Understand. So, do you have a problem with Zibo Yixin? Yamamoto Shigekuni calmly set a language trap for Yizan. I have no problem with him, I have a problem with his gender. Yizan shrewdly avoided this trap. Old man, if you want to find a position for this little brother, I think the captain of the 3rd division is the location is just right. Can't find anyone here. Quote. Yamamoto Shigekuni frowned. I have other arrangements for the 3rd division. Let him be your vice captain for the time being. Can the vice captain have a temporary period? He has always performed tasks in this world, and Zeebo's family has also moved out of Jingling Court for many years, so let him get acquainted with him first. Yizan nodded clearly. I brought him to familiarize himself with the environment, and then he was the captain of the 3rd division for 2 years and then became the captain of the 3rd division. Is that so? Do I have any benefits? It was Yamamoto Shigekuni's high cane that responded to him. Old man, innocent fights are not allowed in Jingling Court, that's what you said. Yizan made a stop gesture. It's not that I'm afraid of you. I only beat someone in minutes. But, you know, I won't pay for demolishing the house. Go away. Yizan looked at the appearance of Yamamoto Shigekuni being so angry that he broke out of Reiatsu, and shrugged. It's an old man. Few have a good temper. I understand. Zeebo Yixin, who was waiting outside the door. Deputy Captain Yixin, then come with me. Yizan patted Zeebo Yixin on the shoulder. Old man Yamamoto entrusted you to me, and I will educate you well. Zeebo Yixin, the relationship between Captain Yizan and the captain. Looks very, not bad. You're the one who thinks that we have a good relationship. Yizan turned to Byakugan. Correction, it's very bad. Captain Yizan really likes to joke. Jiro, the elusive head of the Sparrow, suddenly appeared. The captain loves you very much. Don't talk like that. Yizan raised his hand and covered his face. I still love you. I'm going to get goosebumps. It's all because he can't beat me, so I can't help it. Yizan's words were quite loud, and Yamamoto Shigekuni also heard it. When he opened the door, the crutch in his hand looked like it would be crushed at any time. Stinky boy, itchy skin after 3 days without beating. Come on, who's afraid of who? Yizan drew his sword as soon as he disagreed, and he didn't say anything to lose his momentum. Captain, this is in the team building, calm down. Calm down. Jiro, the head of the Sparrow, gave Shiba Yixin a wink while preventing Yamamoto Shigekuni from pulling out Zanpakudo. Zeebo Yixin is also a sincere person. When he saw that the situation was wrong, he carried Yizan without saying a word and ran away. In a flash, he ran to the door of the 5th division. Yizan. Is this Captain Yizan's new mount? Ichimaru Silver's flattering voice sounded not far away. Yizan knocked G677 Bo Yixin to the ground with one punch, and turned to look at Ichimaru Silver. Yeah, I haven't trained yet, I'm laughing. Captain. Zeebo got up from the ground in a dizzy, confused look. Don't talk, I've already seen through your funny nature. Yizan snorted coldly. From here, the frog jumps back to the team house. Never thought that he would be punished by the captain before he took office. Zeebo looked at Yizan sluggishly, showing a very aggrieved expression. That's it. Start now. Captain Yizan is really cold. Ichimaru Silver squinted and smiled, with some provocation in his tone. The 100,003 seats are very leisurely, and they actually have the time to hang out outside. Yizan smiled coldly and kicked a stone on the side of the road. Huh, underscore. Ichimaru Silver received a blow on the forehead and suddenly lost his balance and fell from the roof. Captain Yizan's skills are really good. He managed to find the correct posture when he landed, and he didn't drop an ugly dog to bite you, but the swollen bag on his forehead couldn't go away for a while. Exceeded the prize. Yizan said lightly, tips for carving bugs. Chapter 110-unwelcome. Ichimaru Silver covered his head with a tangled expression. He wanted to speak but didn't know what to say. What are you still doing? Yizan ignored him, turned around and kicked Zeebo Yixin. Want to stay here? Zeebo looked at Yizan with a tangled heart. Really? Do you want to jump back? Or is it boiled? Yizan sneered. Now. Immediately. Immediately. Under Yizan's urgent staring eyes, Zibo could only squat down in a tangled manner. Who is that? Hayami Lingda, one of the 10th team members, saw his captain jumping over with a strange person. Although it was the strange person who jumped, but standing beside that kind of person, don't you feel ashamed? When he was tangled, Yizan had already brought that eccentric person to him. Captain. Su Shuiling saluted properly, but his eyes were already on the weirdo who jumped over. Captain Tenten can see it, but it's not often you see weirdos walking around. This is the new vice captain, you two get along well in the future. Yizan showed his will wave to stand up with his eyes, that's it. Deputy, Captain. Su Shuiling stared blankly at Zibo Yixin, who had the same dull expression. That suspicious and reluctant appearance pleased Yizan very well. He smiled and said, the vice captain is called Zibo Yixin, the uncle of the vice captain of the 13th Division, Zibo Heian. Although Zibo's family is in the middle of the road and it has been some years since he moved out of Jingling Court, he is one of the 5 nobles in the past. His eyes suddenly changed, not to mention that he was just jumping over, he was just crawling over, and Su Shuiling's voice from the deputy captain could also be convinced. Vice captain is good. Su Shuiling said this, carefully looking at Zibo Yixin. After changing his contempt, Su Shuiling looked at Zibo Yixin with the same eyes as he looked at an idol. It seems that old man Yamamoto is overthinking it, aren't you also very popular? Yizan would not be angry with such a look of admiration, shrugged his shoulders and walked into the 10th team building. Mao has started school again, and there is no Rukia and that bluffing Renji, so it's a bit boring to say. Yizan complained to Sanshi Mayatoru, I originally wanted a beautiful girl to be the vice captain, but now I'm being compelled to do it again. Old man Yamamoto is stuffed with all kinds of embarrassing goods. Life is. Maya Teruotaro, who has been dealing with team affairs in the 10th division, didn't understand what happened, and looked at Yizan blankly. Captain, what happened? It's nothing, it's just that there is a second-hand guy who is going to be the deputy captain, and he's already outside. Yizan shrugged, let the cook cook more dishes and have a banquet to celebrate in the evening. Deputy captain. Maya Terutaro and the other gods of death who heard this looked at Yizan together. There was no joy in those eyes anyway. And each of them is a little eager to try. Yizan had already taught them a lesson when he arrived at the 10th division, so they knew Yizan's strength very well, and they didn't accept him as the captain at all. After all, this is an existence that even the former vice captain and the current 9th division captain, Dong Xianyao, admires him. Moreover, even Zaraki Kenpachi of the 11th division calls himself a younger brother in front of him. With such a captain, they are the death gods of the 10th division, and they are all very cool when they walk out of the gate of the team building. Now that the position of the deputy captain is hanging in the air, they are all eagerly waiting for a good performance, but they run out of the air again. Absolutely cannot agree. If you don't agree, go challenge and see, just like you challenged me before. Yizan looked at them amusingly, whoever wins will be the new vice captain, how about that? Almost immediately, everyone figured out Yizan's attitude. Obviously, he didn't like the new vice captain either. If you defeat that person, you will definitely be treated differently by the captain. Yes, captain. The crowd responded in unison. A look full of fighting spirit, victory is in sight. But Yizan didn't expect them to win, he just felt too bored and wanted to have some fun. Received, by this kind of battle as soon as I came here. If Zibo should be surnamed Zibo wholeheartedly and not need this kind of pressure, it will make people unbalanced. In order to prevent such an unpleasant accident from happening, Yizan badly didn't tell them the name of the vice captain. In fact, no one remembered to ask. No one is curious about the name. So, when Zibo Yixin came in, what he saw was a group of menacing death gods. The vice captain of our 10th division is not so easy to be. It's not just anyone who says they want to be able to be. At least prove your strength. Zibo smiled honestly, is that so? Then let's fight. When it comes to fighting, there is a flash in his eyes. Yizan was surprised to find that at that moment, his temperament was completely different from the amusing aura he showed before. That's right, although it's a bit unreliable, Kurosaki Ishin is also a man with captain-level strength after all. If it's just a joke, this guy can't be the captain. However, Yizan still looked at him highly. In fact, Kurosaki Ishin's calm side was only for a moment. After a moment, Dabi is still the same Dabi. What does old man Yamamoto think I'm doing? The fighting maniac Zaragi Kenpachi asked me to take care of it, and now I have a tease. I'm not a captain training class here. Fuck. Zibo Yixin didn't know that Yizan had so many thoughts. He just weighed his Zanpakuto and reached out to pull it out. Wait, Terumaya stopped him. We don't want to use Zanpakuto, the bamboo sword will decide the outcome. And inserted his Zanpakuto back into his waist. It can't be used by ghosts. Of course. Just use a bamboo knife. That's fine. Chapter 111-Deputy Team. So strong. Maya Terudoro caught Shiba Ishin's attack. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes. In contrast, Shiba was surprised. Judging from the strength of the blow just now, the strength of the person in front of him has reached the level of a vice captain. Pulling back suddenly, Kurosaki turned to attack the others. It is his tactic to sneak to the last to deal with it, and deal with the others first. These people are too careless, so many people go together. Zibo sighed exaggeratedly, although I know that it is tradition for airborne officers to be challenged by subordinates, but at least you should follow the rules and come one by one. Many people go together. Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Terutaro Maya. It's nothing, Captain Yizan defeated us with just one move. It turns out that this has been done more than once. Zebo's wholeheartedly developed a revolutionary friendship with Yizan, who was sitting on the sidelines and had nothing to do with himself, and only then did he catch a keyword. Open black lens bracket 1 move close black lens bracket. If I understand correctly, does it mean that all these people will be defeated in one move? Zebo looked at the people in front of him in surprise. They are all chairmen, and their strength should be ranked in the entire Jingling 647 court. Defeat so many people with one move. Zebo single-mindedly imagined the possibility of this, and shook his head slightly. This should just be that the officers praised their captain, so it was an exaggeration. Snapped. A brand new bamboo sword struck Ziba Ishin's face without a single pause. Shiba turned his head to look at Terumaya, who had hit him, with a serious expression. After all, the strength is there. After Zibo Yixin took a few beatings, he still managed to bring down all those challenging chairmen. From the beginning to the end, Yizan had a clearer understanding of his strength. Strong, that's for sure. But it's still a bit worse than the one with Jingle Chunchui and Yukitaki Shuru. It's said that we don't know each other if we don't fight. Now that we're done, let me introduce you to him. His name is Zibo Yixin, and he's the new vice captain. After Yizan said this, the crowd exploded with a buzz. It's from the Shiba family. Are they planning to come back? First Zibo Heian, and now Zibo Yixin. It should be said that it is worthy of being the descendant of a great noble, it is really strong. This has something to do with the nobles. Our captain is still from Liuhun Street. He is still very strong. That's not just the captain. Apparently you forgot Kenpachi from the 11th Division. Let's talk about it. It seems that the people from Liuhun Street are pretty good. Zibo Yixin's ears were filled with the whispers of everyone, and there was some embarrassment on his face. That, Captain Yizan, am I now the vice captain of the 10th Division? Of course. Yizan nodded affirmatively. Then can I shut them up? Zibo asked seriously. Yizan looked at him silently. No, Zibo touched his nose in embarrassment. Actually, they didn't speak after you made your voice. Yizan reminded lightly, since the fight is over and the introduction has been made, let's go to dinner. It's not too early. The understated tone calmed everyone's fiery emotions after the fierce battle. The next day, the armband of the vice captain belonging to Zeebo Heian was sent over by several death gods who were also vice captains. One of them is Zeebo Heian. After sending off the other vice captains, Zeebo Yixin and Zeebo Heian's uncle and nephew sat down again. Congratulations. Zeebo Heian said, this is what I said as a nephew, not as a captain. Don't make it so serious, I'm not comfortable anymore. Zeebo Yixin laughed, I was still alive when you became the vice captain, and I want to say congratulations to you. Thank you very much then. Zeebo Heian smiled, I only knew that I received the news of Hell Butterfly in the morning, but you have already been dispatched from this world. Kong and Ganju still don't know the news of your return. Should come. I'm more surprised than that you would join the Grim Reaper. Zeebo Heian smiled awkwardly, as the head of the Zeebo family, I should take responsibility. I can't let the Zeebo family continue to decline from generation to generation. Zeebo nodded with satisfaction, and said, you finally saw it. Not bad, not bad. Compared to me, I worry about you when you are the vice captain under Yizan. Zeebo Heian sighed, as your nephew, I really know you and Yizan too well. Zeebo looked at him suspiciously. Captain Yamamoto wants him to educate you. Zeebo Heian said with emotion, Captain Uzumaki told me so. Zeebo Yixin did not understand what he meant, and continued to look at him suspiciously. If you make Yizan annoyed, remember to run quickly. After all, he is someone who dares to quarrel with Captain Yamamoto, and he can even compete with Captain Yamamoto who is not liberated. As a nephew, Zeebo Heian was also heartbroken for this somewhat funny uncle. Although it's quite reliable in major events, but usually the character that makes people want to give him 3 meals a day. I feel like I'm going to visit him in the 4th division sooner or later. It turns out that he is so powerful. Zeebo Yixin didn't hear the main point of his nephew's words, and only sighed that Yizan was strong. Forget it, do it yourself. Let's go now. Yizan slapped away the man who was training with him. It is said that it is a pair of training, in fact, it is simply a unilateral crushing. At this moment, Yizan was distracted, and the man ran away while rolling and crawling. Well, I've already caught fish during work hours. If I don't go back to Mizuno, I'll be angry. Meiyazi is so good-natured, shouldn't she be angry? Yizan breathed a sigh of relief when he heard Zeebo Heian call Meiyazi, Mizuno. But this is not the way to do it all the time. After all, there is such a saying that the moon and the moon are the first to be near the water. I have to figure out a way. Yizan thought like this, his eyes fell on Zeebo Heian. Chapter-112 Conversation between men. Zeebo Heian was nervous by him, but he continued with what he said before, although this is the case, it has been out for so long after all. Heian-zang, I've always wanted to ask you to help me with something. Yizan made up his mind, grabbed Zeebo Heian's neck, pulled him aside, and stopped Zeebo when he wanted to follow him. This is a conversation between me and the Heian man, don't come here. Zeebo only touched his nose and took a few steps back. Heian, I like Meiyazi. Yizan said, you give me a hand. Ah, Zeebo Heian showed a blank expression, what help? Of course help me chase her. Yizan gave him a white look, otherwise, what can you help me with? This. Zeebo Heian recalled what his own captain, Shuru, said after Yizan left the 13th division last time. This kid Yizan must have taken a fancy to Meiyazi, he must not let that little pervert succeed. Close black lens bracket. But Yizan said so. As a friend, it seems that he can't justify without help. What's the matter with that hesitant face of yours? Yizan looked at Zeebo Heian, his eyes narrowed dangerously, don't tell me you're looking at Meiyazi too. No. Zeebo Heian shook her head again and again, of course not. Then why are you hesitating? That's because our captain. Zeebo Heian thought for a while, and then sold out his own captain. He said he couldn't let you succeed. What a joke. Yizan chuckled, Miyako is young and beautiful, does he want to keep it for himself when he doesn't let him find a boyfriend? The rabbit doesn't eat the grass on the edge of the nest. Captain Fukuju just named him and said that he would not let you soak in Meiyazi, but he didn't say that others couldn't. Zibo Heian looked at Yizan's angry look, but didn't say it. Anyway, just one sentence, can you help me? Yizan looked at Zibo Heian seriously. As long as he agrees, he is not afraid that he will take action against Mayako. I'm so smart and witty. Is there any wood? Yes. Zibo Heian nodded and agreed, but then added, the premise is that Captain Fukuba can't be noticed. Of course, there's no problem. Yizan nodded, okay, walk slowly and don't send it off. Zibo Heian didn't expect Yizan to say such a sentence immediately, and looked at him in shock. Do you just throw it away after you've used it? No, I haven't used it yet. Yizan patted Zibo Heian on the shoulder. You said you were going to leave, or you'll stay for lunch. I'm really stupid, I know I can't tell him, why don't I give up? Zibo Heian silently covered her face and turned to leave. ... Little black charcoal, do you have something to do with me? Yizan leaned on the table, raised his eyebrows and looked at the boy who showed hesitation in his eyes. Messy hair and dark skin. Produced by Sci-fi Yuan, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. I'm not called Xiao Haiden. Sci-fi Yuan Shushiro looked at Yizan with a grievance that made him shiver, and then he got goosebumps all over his body. I haven't seen such a crying girl in the soul realm yet, and I actually saw a guy who wanted to cry first. Okay, boy. I know your name is Yushiro, the fourth branch of the hospital. Yizan took a deep breath. I also know that you are a man. Gender man. Who are you showing this look of crying or not? Ah. You yell at me. Shifeng Yuan Yushiro sniffed hard. How dare you yell at me? Yizan raised his eyebrows. I'm roaring, what's the matter? Sister said you would take care of me. Wrong, it's to take care of it a little. Yizan corrected angrily. I have to make it clear that taking care and taking care of them are inherently different. I only take care of creatures of the sexes. Shifenjin Yuashiro frowned, still with the expression of wanting to cry or not, but tears were already brewing. Aren't you my sister's boyfriend? Treat my brother-in-law like this. Hearing this, Yizan was almost shocked by his soul out of his body. Who told you that? I guess. Yizan. My sister didn't ask the Kuchiki family, but you. Shifenjin Yuashiro showed a look I knew. You two have known each other for a while, which means that your relationship is definitely not ordinary. It's a bit reasonable, it's just the boyfriend. Yizan touched his nose embarrassedly. This is tentative. What are you looking for from me? As soon as Yizan asked these words, the liquid in the eyes of Sci-fi Yuan Yushiro began to gather again. Fuck, you dare to cry and try. I can't beat you to death. Yizan roared and slapped him on the head. I am going to cry. Hold back. Yizan grabbed his head, otherwise, I will let you know why Huar is so yuhi. It was obviously not the first time that Sci-fi Yuan Yushiro was threatened. He blinked his eyes quickly, and the tears were successfully blinked back. Why is the flower yuhi like this? He looked at Yizan curiously. I don't cry anymore, really. What Lao Su said is that you cry and let you know why Huar is like yuhi, it's a threat. It's not that you don't cry to tell you why the flower is like this yuhi. Exhausted. So tired. How did Yi, this strange little brother, teach him? Yuhi was stained with blood, so Yuhi. Yizan said weakly, boy, what the hell are you running over to find me? I miss my sister. Shifenjin Yushiro pointed his finger. Do you know where she is? Of course. I don't know. Yizan laughed. Little black charcoal, your sister has betrayed the soul world. Can she tell others where she is? Just use your brain. Your expression clearly says, I know. Shifenjin Yushiro said, just tell me, and I will help you speak nicely in front of your sister. Boy, where did your intuition come from? Still saying nice things in front of Yi. I'm about to laugh. I won't tell you if I know it. Yizan chuckled. Yi still has business affairs, so don't make trouble for the children. Chapter 113-Pest. Having said that, Yizan felt a little bit dumbfounded. Yi's business is not to find a way to keep Bengyu, not to let Aizen find it, and then to find out the evidence that Aizen planned this matter. Aizen is still my little brother who does errands for me. Yizan smiled a little. So, in fact, I was just too bored to watch the Yi people fighting with Aizen. However, even if Aizen was told directly, Kazuki Urahara and the others were in Kakuzucho, and Benyu didn't know where it was hidden. So, it's because I can't help anything, so my sister isn't telling me anything. Shifunjin Yushiro didn't notice Yizan's fascination. I also want to become stronger, just like you. Strong, so I can help my sister. Hearing this, Yizan looked at this crybag in surprise. Do you have such an awareness? It's a pity that his parents gave all the good talents to Saifeng Yuanyei, so until later, he didn't see any extraordinary performance from him. Please accept me as your apprentice. Yizan looked at him silently. No time. Then what will you do to accept me as your apprentice? No matter what, Yizan said calmly, his tone not fluctuating at all. Saifeng Yushiro fell silent. He looked at Yizan pitifully, and his tears started rolling. If you dare to cry in front of me, I'm absolutely welcome. Saifeng Yushiro wiped his eyes quickly. I didn't cry, I was just about to cry. I don't want this either, I want to change. Captain. As Shifunjin Yushiro was talking, Shiba came in carrying a stack of documents with all his heart. Isn't this the young master of the Saifeng Yuan family? Why are you here? Zibo put the document on the table, sat down, and looked at Shifunjin Yushiro curiously. He didn't ask Saifeng Yushiro why he looked like he was about to cry. The young master of the Saifeng Yuan family is a crybaby, and this is something everyone knows. Uncle Yixin, Shifunjin Yushiro called out. Zibo nodded in response. I want to ask Captain Yizan to teach me, but he doesn't want to. Saifeng Yushiro whispered, looking at Zibo Yixin's eyes full of anticipation. Why don't Uncle Yixin help me? But he's the captain, Zibo said embarrassedly. Captain, why don't you? I refuse. Yizan interrupted what he had not finished. Shifunjin Yushiro stood up angrily. I won't give up. Who cares about you? The next day. Why are you here? Yizan looked at Shifunjin Yushiro, who was sitting in the captain's office, accompanied by Zibo wholeheartedly. I want to ask you to teach me swordsmanship, onigiri, shunpo. I heard that you are very good at these. I said it yesterday. No. You promised my sister to take care of me. Shifunjin Yushiro showed his standard expression of crying. How many times do I have to correct it? Look. Please let me learn from you. Sorry, I still refuse this. Yizan shook his head slightly. I don't have time. I can do things for you. You're not a girl, what's the use of asking you? Yizan categorically refused. Day 3. Why is it you again? Yizan silently looked at Shifunjin Yushiro who appeared in the captain's room again. Day N, __. He will come, won't I hide? Yizan led a group of death gods on the streets of the 14th district of Liuhun Street. This kind of patrol did not need Yizan to dispatch, but he couldn't bear to be entangled by a crybaby all day, so he could only find a reason to come out. Just let Zibo accompany the kid with big eyes and small eyes, I don't want to accompany him. Thinking of this, Yizan let out a cold snort. What Saifeng Yuan family is a noble, and it is very rude to refuse to go outside. Your Zibo family has been removed from the aristocracy, why bother? If it wasn't for Yi's younger brother's sake, how could I have such patience? Captain, it's the hell butterfly. The illegitimate child walking beside Yizan saw that he turned a blind eye to the hell butterfly flying beside him, so he dared to say a reminder. Yizan regained his senses and reached out to catch the butterfly that was spinning in a circle. It was the 13th Division that encountered Kirin and asked for support. Team 13. Yizan smiled slightly. Isn't it possible to see Meiyazi? Captain, the death god, who heard Yizan muttering to himself, asked, "Are we going to help?" "Go, of course," Yizan said decisively. "The 29th district, a residential area in the southeast. Go." When Yizan arrived, everyone in the 13th division was desperately trying to hold back Killian's actions, and the rest of the other low-level virtuals who followed Killian out of the virtual cave seemed to be incapable of doing things. "It's reinforcements." Someone saw Yizan's feathered body with sharp eyes, and shouted excitedly, "It's the captain." "You're dazzled. Why did the captains have enough time to rush over from Jingling Court?" "Don't be distracted," the other person scolded him, and when he turned his head to see Yizan, he was stunned. "Team 10, Captain. I'll just say it, and you say I'm dazzled. It's only 10 minutes since Hell Butterfly was released. Probably just around the corner." Everyone in the 13th division saw Yizan appear, and each one of them seemed to have been beaten with blood, and the movements of slashing and killing Shu were smoother than 4.3. Yizan glanced at it briefly, and he was a little disappointed that there was no Miyako Mizuno, so the reporter did not take action, but watched their battle for a while. Maybe Miyako Mizuno will come to support after a while. With this idea in mind, Yizan didn't take action immediately, and didn't help until those people were injured or killed. Swish! The Yuhi-colored blade slid through the air, easily slicing Killian, who had been entangled in the 13th division for a long time, in half. Daxu's wailing before his death resounded through the world. Yizan frowned, and was about to continue to deal with the remaining Xiaoshu when a slender figure in the distance fell into his eyes. Mizuno Miyako. Her black hair was tied into a bun at the back of her head, and her Death Fighter attire flew up and down with her movements. Chapter 114_hookup_. Although I don't have the busty figure of Matsumoto Ranju, I also like the style of this kind of good family woman. Yizan thought about it, and the original lazy movements were a little harder. Although there is no difference. Whether it's laziness or hard work, it's just smashing it one by one. In the eyes of everyone's admiration and respect to eliminate all the virtual, Yizan stared at Miyano Miya who came over. Miyako. Deep voice, focused eyes. Miyako Mizuno turned her face in embarrassment, took a deep breath, then turned her head and said calmly, "Thank you Captain Yizan for your support." "No need to thank you." Yizan smiled slightly. "I received the news that the 13th division was in distress and rushed over immediately. I didn't feel relieved until I saw that you were not here." Miyako Mizuno had never heard such a sensational and obscure confession when she was so old. After she understood what Yizan meant, Yuhi immediately dizzy on her face. "You. Now that I see you, I feel even more relieved. I have already killed Shu, and I still have a task to do, so I will leave first." After Yizan finished speaking, he took a deep look at Miyako Mizuno and turned to leave. If it was replaced by Lisa Yahomaru, Yizan would be featured in the morning paper. But Miyako Mizuno has not succeeded in flirting, and he still needs to maintain a tall image for the time being. A gentle, strong, handsome, forbearing man who silently likes her to protect her. No woman can refuse, right? A smug smile appeared on the corner of Yizan's mouth. "Captain, are we just leaving?" After walking a short distance, one of the gods of death who followed Yizan couldn't help but ask, "Don't you like the third seat of the 13th division?" "I can see it. I like it." Yizan nodded, without any intention of denying it. "Then the atmosphere was so good just now, why did you? Don't you just hug it and kiss it?" The man didn't finish his words, but Yizan understood what he meant. "At first glance, you don't have a girlfriend." Yizan shook his head inexplicably, with no explanation at all, leaving the few people to look at each other, all with bewildered expressions. "I said, do you want to thank me?" Zibo Heian said to Yizan, "Otherwise, you wouldn't be so lucky to meet Mizuno Sansei." "What did you do?" Yizan raised his eyebrows. "Of course." Zibo Heian nodded proudly. "I heard that your 10th division was just patrolling there, so I let Mizuno pass by, and when the time comes, let her come to the 10th division to thank you in person. This is not I didn't expect you. Me too. Ha ha ha. Quote. Zibo Heian threw a, look. Yizan looked at him up and down. You said you asked her to thank her face to face. Who is the person sitting here now? You think I'm coming? Zibo Heian chuckled. Who knows what you did? Mizuno refused to come, and the captain protected her and tried to isolate her from you, so. I'm here. I didn't do anything, Yizan said helplessly. I didn't do anything, I just expressed my concern. Your 3 seats are too thin. Zibo Heian shrugged, noncommittal. The two were talking when a voice that made Yizan feel numb in his scalp sounded. Brother Yizan. Then, a dark face poked out from behind the door frame. Yizan. Heian, are you here too? Siphon Yuan Yushiro looked at Zibo Heian in surprise. Just in time, please help me beg Brother Yizan, let him accept me. Accept you? Zibo Heian looked at Yizan suspiciously. What's going on? Why did this kid come out and shake? How do I know? He suddenly came up and said that he wanted me to teach him swordsmanship, ghost ways, and shunpo. If I didn't agree, I kept pestering Owen, and he came to me every day to report. Zibo Heian looked at Yizan's helpless look and shook her head amusedly. Captain Yamamoto can't do anything about you. Are you afraid of Yushiro? Who's afraid of him? Yizan said angrily. I think he's pestering people. I said why did you go all the way to patrol, in fact, to avoid him. Zibo Heian pointed to Shiffun Yuan Yushiro, and then laughed. Yi asked me to take care of him, I can't just stop and beat him first, right? Yizan shook his head helplessly, and he looks like a bag of tears. Like a girl, Zibo Heian winked and said, Baizai and I also studied it back then. If the characters of their sister and brother could be changed, it would be perfect. Yi of Siphon courtyard full of tears. Yizan imagined Yi with his mouth open to cry, only to feel a chill rising from the soles of his feet. Horrible, he concluded. I really want to become stronger. Said Shifenjin Yushiro, I don't like myself like this either. It's been said that I'm impatient to take children. Yizan interrupted him angrily. Shifenjin Yushiro immediately turned to Shiba Heian for help. Although he was a little weak, he was not stupid, at least he could see that Ali Zibo Heian could speak in front of Yizan, and this opportunity could not be given up no matter what. Moreover, the relationship between Zibo Heian and him is much better than Zibo Yixin, who has only a few ties. Brother Heian. Zibo Heian nodded helplessly. Yizan, Rukia and Renji will be on vacation after a while, do you want to come back? Come back, Yizan said casually, and then his eyes fell on Shiffun Yuan Yushiro. What do you mean? You bring 2 children and you bring 3, so what's the difference? Zibo Heian said bravely under Yizan's gaze. He haunts you every day, you can't even stay in the teen quarters, don't you say? It makes sense. At that time, he threw him directly to Renji, and let the haters torture each other. Really good choice. Then you have to wait until Junyang is on vacation, and the rest of the time is not allowed to harass me. Yizan agreed reluctantly, and then looked at Shiffun Yuan Yushiro viciously. This kind of thing happens again, I will throw you to the virtual world. Circle it, believe it or not. Chapter 115_Flickering Chrysanthemum. Yo, Ranju-song. Yizan raised his head and gave Matsumoto Ranju a bright smile. Why are you here? Matsumoto Ranju asked subconsciously, and then realized that his tone was wrong. He bowed his head hesitantly. Captain Yizan. Just passing by. Yizan didn't care about Matsumoto's disrespect, and said with a smile, I saw the beautiful blonde hair of Ranju-song passing by in sight, I couldn't help but follow. Even if it was said in a complimenting tone, it couldn't change that it was a blatant molestation. Matsumoto Ranju's face turned Yuhi, staring at Yizan angrily, and because of Yizan's status as captain, he couldn't refute. In fact, although Yizan's remarks were molesting, his level of molesting was very high, and his face could not be called harassment, although he himself admitted that he was following over. At this moment, they were standing on the true campus, surrounded by students coming and going. Yizan's Captain Yuri was still very conspicuous, and people walking nearby couldn't help but look over. Some people even walked back and forth several times just to catch a few more glances. Captain Yizan is joking. Matsumoto Ranju took a few deep breaths. I don't know what exactly Captain Yizan is looking for from me. This. Yizan's eyes narrowed slightly. The 6th grade is about to graduate, so I'm looking for members who can join the 10th division. Well, I hope that Captain Yizan can find him as soon as possible. Matsumoto Ranju said hurriedly. Since it's not for me, then I'll go first. Ranju-san, don't have to be so anxious. Yizan stopped Matsumoto's steps from leaving. Since I am looking for a member who can join the 10th division, Luanju-san is naturally one of them. At this time, Luanju was just a student who had not yet left the school. It was not long before she came to Jingling Court from Liuhun Street. Although she has not been deeply involved in the world, she has received a lot of harassment because of her looks and body since she grew up, but she is really the only one who cannot be rejected like Yizan. Matsumoto Ranju hesitated, facing Yizan's strength, but he couldn't answer. Would you like to come to the 10th division after graduating from Luanju-song? Yizan sent a sincere invitation. Our team benefits are very good. The captain is also very reliable. There are many opportunities for the players to exercise, but the casualty rate is definitely the lowest. This is not Yizan's boasting. Although he is too lazy to lead the team to kill those smashes, there is still the vice-captain of Zibo Yixin. As the captain of the 10th division that old man Yamamoto had originally prepared, if he didn't make good use of it, how could he be worthy of old man Yamamoto specially sending him to be the deputy captain? The configuration of the 10th squad can be said to be the highest. Even if there is no Zibo Yixin, with an invincible captain, isn't it the best in the Soul world? Matsumoto Ranju looked at Yizan and frowned, apparently thinking about how to reject Yizan, but couldn't say anything. Obviously, he was thinking about how to reject Yizan. Why would Yizan know? Because the reluctance on her face was too obvious. Although she has a sexy body and a beautiful appearance, it is not the kind of temperament that attracts bees and butterflies. Yizan looked at Matsumoto Ranju, his heart moved slightly. Ichimaru Silver, the guy who will be killed by Aizen sooner or later, Lao Su will not be as weak as him. Yizan remembered Ichimaru Silver roaring Matsumoto Ranju in a state of despair, and felt extremely distressed. You can trust me 100% because I'm the type of man who never breaks a woman's heart no matter what happens. What? Yizan's words can be said to have hit the softest and most fragile point in Matsumoto Ranju's heart. Ichimaru Silver rescued her, who was about to starve to death, and they have been relying on each other since then. But as the two grew up, Matsumoto Ranju found that he could no longer see through Ichimaru Silver. I don't know what he's thinking or what he's doing. That guy is always mysterious. Maybe it's because people grow up and have their own secrets. It may also be because I can no longer catch up with him, so I am about to be abandoned by him. With this thought in mind, Matsumoto Ranju looked at Yizan a little more cautiously. But she still didn't let go. She just said ambiguously, when I graduate, I will consider Captain Yizan's invitation. I want to ask, is the other consideration of Ranju-san the 5th division? Yizan asked sharply. Ranju-san and Ichimaru Silver should have a good relationship, right? Why are you asking this? Matsumoto Ranju looked at Yizan vigilantly. It's nothing, just asking casually. Yizan shook his head slightly. He had a good time in the 5th division, and he was wandering around every now and then, so you don't need to worry about him. So, Ichimaru Silver, who has the knack for wandering around, have you ever come to see you? Obviously not. What is this man still doing? Luan Jusong, no matter how much you refuse, it's only a matter of time before you fall into my arms. Matsumoto Ranju also heard what Yizan meant, and his face suddenly became a little bad, but he still insisted, I'm not familiar with him. Unfamiliar. Yizan raised his eyebrows pretending to be surprised. I originally wanted to say that Captain Shimaru has good eyes, and the girls in the 5th division admire him very much. Since you are not familiar with him, there is no need to say it. Quote. You've already said it. Matsumoto Ranju couldn't hold back anymore, biting Kiba and gnashing his teeth. Really? Yizan raised his eyebrows. Sorry, the vice captain is a little bit too, and he was infected by him recently. Matsumoto Ranju looked at him speechlessly, as if he didn't know whether to be angry or to laugh. If you regard Ichimaru Silver as a relative, you should really worry about him. After all, he is planning a very dangerous thing. Although there is no danger for the time being, it is hard to say in the future. Yizan said, if you are his as someone who entrusts your life to you, you will regret it. Quote. What do you mean? Matsumoto Ranju looked at him in shock. Do you know about the defection of nearly half of the captains and vice-captains in the 13th chapter of the Gote? Yizan broke the news half-truth. I suspect that Ichimaru Silver has something to do with this. You are talking nonsense. Ranki Matsumoto denied. Chapter 116_captured. He's just a student. Then think about it. Where was he when the incident happened? Yizan made a heavy expression. Is he in Junyang? Of course not. Yizan was very sure that Aizen would definitely bring along 2 of his capable men for such a major event. He lives in the boys' dormitory. How do I know if he is there? Matsumoto Ranju said with a guilty conscience. The seeds of doubt had been planted, and Yizan's initial goal was achieved, so he turned to raise the banner of maintaining justice. I only told you about this, so I hope you don't say it. After all, their purpose may be more than that. Matsumoto Ranju looked at Yizan suspiciously. Of course. Otherwise, do you think that Ichimaru Silver, a person from Ryahun Street without any background, can do so much before graduating from Mao? Matsumoto Ranju bit her lip. Although she didn't speak, her expression said everything. She obviously believed Yizan's words. What do you want? Matsumoto Ranju asked. You came to me specifically for this matter, right? This really isn't. Yizan said in his heart that I came here for 087 to flirt with girls. But the girls took the initiative to find such a tall reason for themselves, wouldn't it be too stupid next? Ichimaru Silver is a talented person, and it is inevitable to make mistakes when he is young. Yizan smiled and praised the guy reluctantly, but you don't have to worry so much. After all, I also have love. Talented heart, unwilling to see a good seedling destroyed by himself like this. Quote. In Matsumoto Ranju's nervous look, Yizan said, so, you can help him. Matsumoto Ranju didn't answer, just looked at Yizan. You can tell me about his weird behavior, so that I will not only ensure his safety, but also catch the culprit as soon as possible. Yizan looked at Matsumoto Ranju's nervous expression and nodded clearly. Look, since I have, if you didn't say anything about the captain's rebellion before him, you naturally won't say anything else. Or, are you going to watch him step into a place of doom? This sentence obviously succeeded. Matsumoto Ranju was frightened. She nodded casually, and agreed. Of course, if you have any questions about your schoolwork, you can also ask me, by the way. I'm good at ghost and white fights. Yizan achieved his goal and started to sell himself again. Captain Yizan is very strong, of course I know that. Matsumoto Ranju forced a smile, obviously not in the mood to continue drinking Yizan. I still have something to do, so I'll go first. Yizan showed a gentle smile to Matsumoto Ranju. You can come to me if you need help with anything. Yes. Matsumoto Ranju bowed his head slightly. Not long after Yizan and Matsumoto Ranju separated, another person appeared in front of him, who was unexpected but also expected. Liangzi. Yizan glared at the grass deer Bachinliu who was licking the lollipop, and said with a smile, I was about to find you, and you came. Didn't you have a good time chatting with Matsumoto-senpai? Do you remember coming to me? Ryoko Baida said angrily, if I hadn't heard that you were here and appeared in front of you, I'm afraid you wouldn't even remember me. Number 1. How is it possible? Bachinliu is in the same class as you and often tells me your news. Yizan said, glaring at Bachinliu again, I care more about you than you think. He said it affectionately, and Ryoko Bida lowered his head slightly. Is that so? Of course, can there be fakes? Yizan said firmly. Then why don't you come by yourself? You're still a student after all. I can't affect your studies. Yizan had already thought of the reason, and he would say it immediately. I know you're fine, that's enough. He said it so affectionately. Baitian Ryoko was immediately moved, and the dissatisfaction that Yizan didn't come to him during this time also subsided, but there is one more point. What are you doing with Matsumoto Ranju? Yizan thought for a while and said, that's right, I asked her to investigate a matter, but this matter is about the secret of Jingling Court, I can't tell. You lied to me. Baitian Ryoko looked distrustful. How could I lie to you? Yizan shouted loudly, if I lied to you, if you ask Matsumoto Ranju, then the truth will be revealed. What good is it for me to lie to you? I'm not stupid, do you think? It seems to make sense. Ryoko Hakuta nodded reluctantly, but Matsumoto Ranju is good-looking and has a good figure, and is very popular with boys. In my opinion, Ryoko is not worse than Matsumoto Ranju. Yizan said, holding Ryoko's hand, and Matsumoto Ranju has a bad temper. Ryoko is a beautiful and gentle girl, there is no doubt about that. Baitian Liangzi was dazed by Yi Xuanzhen's words, and she didn't realize what happened when she was kissed. She didn't recover until Bachin Liu giggled. Wiping her lips in embarrassment, her face swelled with yuhi. Stop wiping, Yizan is gone. Kaolu Bachin Liu held his cheeks. She hadn't left since just now, and watched the whole process of Yizan and Baishin Ryoko's love affair from beginning to end. Shy face. 8,000 streams. Baitian Ryozi stomped his feet in anger. It was originally, I saw it all. Kusaka Yakiryu said, all. Stop talking. Then what are you bribing me? Kaolu Bachinliu winked cutely, I won't say bribes. I bought the candy you eat. Baitian Ryoko said helplessly. Obviously, one is not enough. Kaolu Yachinliu said, quack, biting the lollipop in his mouth, chewing it and swallowing it. Look, it's over already. Baitian Ryoko. Kaolu Bachinliu saw that she did not speak, and urged, hurry up and bribe me. Let's go, Baitian Ryoko said in the room, I'll take you to the canteen, okay. Just barely. Chapter 117 secondhand. Xiaoyixin, send this to the 8th Division. Yizan pointed to the document on the table. After a while, Zibo Yixin still did not move. What's wrong? Xiao Yixin, what the hell is that? Zibo Yixin's face was struck by lightning. Because Uncle Jingle has Xiao Shishu, I think I also want to have a little something. Yizan said awe-inspiringly, Xiao Yixin. When you shout like this, do you feel that you are particularly deceitful? Xiao Yixin tilde. Captain, I'm a man. Zibo said sincerely, I also ask the captain not to make such jokes with his subordinates. After all, I'm not young anymore. Our team has rules, do you know? Yizan asked with a smile. Team rules. Zibo Yixin showed a blank expression. The subordinates of the Death God's Code have already memorized them. That's why I don't know. Yizan nodded clearly, we have only one rule for the 10th Division, everything the captain says is right. Remember it. When he said this, Yizan was laughing, but Zibo Yixin felt like he was being targeted by something terrifying. Yizan was clearly sitting there, and he didn't even release the spiritual pressure. Under such unexplained terrifying pressure, Zibo confessed without hesitation. Isn't it just, Xiaoyixin, the captain is just joking. If you want to call it, you can call it, and there will be no less meat. Subordinates remember. Go, Yizan waved his hand. Zibo felt as if he had been granted amnesty, picked up the document quickly, and was about to go out when Yizan stopped him again. With a bitter look on his face, he looked at Yizan carefully. That look of precaution seems to be afraid that Yizan will trick him. Mao's 6th graders are about to graduate and participate in the internship. You are in charge of recruiting people. Remember, girls come first. As ordered. Hearing this, Zibo Yixin breathed a sigh of relief. It was great that he didn't call Xiao Yixin. Yizan could see what he was thinking at a glance, and lightly made up a knife. Come on, be careful. Zibo nodded with a wry smile. ... It's the captain of the 10th Division. The female students gathered together and looked at Yizan, who was standing in front of the 10th Division. Tall, handsome, young and powerful, a genius who graduated from Shino in just a few months. These words can all be used on this man, and it is a matter of course to get the love of women. Today, the 10th Division is in charge of the actual combat guidance. I wonder if Captain Yizan will do it himself. Probably not. A girl said, he is so strong, and the virtual in the actual combat exercise is so weak. I heard that Kirian's level of big virtual, he also killed with one move. So strong, he can give. What shall we demonstrate? Demonstrate a move to kill Kilian. Another girl laughed hilariously. In other words, people are really different. That is, people can graduate and become captains in a few months, and there are still many people who have been working for decades and may not be able to endure the position of chairman. ... Yizan was watched by everyone, but he didn't feel uncomfortable. Anyway, he was used to being watched. Rukia. He looked at Rukia, who was hiding in the crowd. Her black hair was inconspicuous, but Asanai Renji's Yuhi hair betrayed her presence. Anyway, where there is Renji, there must be Rukia. That asshole. Brother Yizan. As soon as Rukia heard Yizan calling her, she ran over, looking up at Yizan with admiration. With those shining eyes, Yizan could see one meaning: beg the tiger to touch. Then Yizan touched it. It's a little taller, not bad. Because Yizan is always easy to talk in front of girls, and he is not always cold-faced like Baizai, so Rukia's closeness to Yizan is increasing day by day. She took Yizan's hand and said, Brother Yizan, come on. The next time I came to Junyang, I didn't even come to see me. Quote. The last time I came here was for business. Yizan said, I thought that since Junyang was on vacation soon, he didn't come to see you specially. What? Are you upset? No, of course not. Rukia denied immediately. Yizan touched his head again. Come to see me. This. No. Rukia said this, looking around, but didn't dare to look at Yizan's face, obviously duplicitous. Yizan smiled and said nothing. Brother Yizan, do you want to demonstrate in person later? Rukia said, a little bit at a loss for words. Let's see the situation. Yizan said, does Rukia want to see it? Me. Rukia was a little flattered. I haven't seen Big Brother Yizan use Zanpakuto. Then I'll show you later. Yizan smiled, but I may not be able to do it as well as others. Why did you say that, eldest brother? Rukia raised her head and looked at him blankly. Because ordinary virtual can't take my knife, so wouldn't it go against the original intention of the actual combat guide? As soon as Yizan finished speaking, Rukia looked at him with nothing but admiration. However, if Rukia wants to see it, I will try my best to show it more. No, Big Brother can fight whatever you want. Rukia said, rubbing her head in embarrassment. I'm not strong enough right now, even if you demonstrate some superb skills, I can't see it. Understand? This is an honest kid. Yizan couldn't help laughing. Captain, I'm here. Zibo Yixin's loud voice roared from afar. In an instant, everyone's eyes were drawn to him. This funny. That's the vice captain of the 10th Division, the new one, you haven't seen it before. Yizan said to Rukia, it's a joke. Brother Yizan, it's not good to say that about him. Rukia sympathetically glanced at the vice captain, who was called Doobie. Aside from being a little louder, does it look okay? Captain, is this your little girlfriend? When they were talking, Zibo Yixin also came over, and as soon as he opened his mouth, Rukia understood that Yizan's words were indeed correct. Chapter 118_Practical Guidance. Funny. Rukia rose and Yuhi glared at Zibo Yixin, agreeing with Yizan's conclusion. Why do you say that about me? Zibo felt that he was very innocent. It's not a girlfriend, could it be the captain's daughter? A niece. My sister. Byakuya's sister. Yizan interrupted his speculation. Pay attention to your words and deeds, Vice Captain. I don't want others to think that our squad is your style. You called me Xiao Yixin yesterday, but now I'm the Vice Captain. Zibo Yixin said without fear of death, I'm not your little. Bah. Dusty. Yizan released his hand from Jibo Yi's heart, stood up with a smile, and clapped his hands. I'm making you laugh. As you can see, there is something wrong with the Vice Captain's brain. Seeing that Zibo wanted to pull his head out of the smashed floor, Yizan stepped on it mercilessly, but fighting he was still handsome when he was there. Quote. Hearing Yizan's words, everyone in the 10th Division took a step back. Why do you want to step on his head while making such a brutal action? Although the Vice Captain is quite ill-mannered most of the time, in the eyes of the public, this is too pitiful. Does this handsome guy put his head under the floor? Rukia stared blankly at the corpse lying on the ground, and then hit the Vice Captain of the 10th Division. I just see stupid. Oh, the head is also quite hard. I said he was a funny guy just now, you still don't believe it? Yizan said amusingly, do you believe it now? Rukia shook her head, I believe it now. Yizan smiled and moved his feet away from Zibo Yixin. What are you still doing? Go and set up the virtual. Pay attention to check, don't have any yachukas pretending to be ordinary virtuals and mixing in there. When Yizan said this, the students present were amazed again. After all, last year Yizan single-handedly singled out countless Shu and Ji Li, and these students who were promoted from the 4th grade to the 5th grade saw it with their own eyes. If it is them, even if it is just a powerful virtual, it is an existence that cannot be faced, right? Those who missed this battle at that time heard the round of the crowd and knew the outline of the matter, and looked at Yizan with even more anticipation, and some people even said, it would be nice if there was another Yachukas. Quote. Of course, the person who said this was naturally despised. Even if Captain Yizan is stronger, can you guarantee that Yachukas will not eat 2 people before he dies? The 8th way of bound, rebuke. As Yizan's voice fell, the attacking virtual was bounced out by the spiritual shield that suddenly appeared. There was a burst of exclamation at the scene. Ordinary people use the 8th way of binding, which is the role of a spiritual shield, but when Yizan uses it, he can directly bounce the target of attack. It is not the target he wants to attack, but the target he wants to attack. Others defend against attacks, but his defenses are strong enough to bounce back attacks. The same 8th way of binding, but there is such a big gap when used. People are really different. I don't know who made such a sigh, which attracted the echoes of other people. 61 Binding Dao, 6 Stand Light Prison. Yizan easily fixed the void in place without even chanting. That's almost it, who wants to come up and try it? It doesn't have to be the 6th grade students, there is an empty space for practice. Yizan summed up and pointed to the box in the distance, the 4th and 5th grade students can come and try. Ladies first. Ranku Matsumoto stood in the 5th grade crowd. She wanted to try it, but the target was Yizan. She frowned and didn't say anything. The boys were dissatisfied and shouted that Yizan was sexist, but they were embarrassed to fight with a group of girls, so they also gave in. That emptiness was unlucky enough. It was obviously only stronger than most of the gods of death, but was trapped by Yizan's 6 sticks of light, and could only be slaughtered by others. It's just some students attacking it, what power can it have? After more than a dozen waves attacked, the students who practiced were satisfied, but the virtual still couldn't die, and could only continue to stand there like a target. There is still a sound, the kind that screams when you get hit. It looks a bit cruel, like torture. Yizan turned his head hard to look directly, just in time to see Matsumoto Ranju standing alone. Why don't you try Luanyu-song? Yizan walked into Matsumoto Luanju. Your classmates have all passed, and you are the only one left here, which is very conspicuous. Matsumoto Ranju looked around, only to realize that all the seniors in the 6th grade were standing around, and the others had already rushed up, and they were suddenly speechless. Can't you go? Yizan smiled softly. Matsumoto Ranju pursed his lips and passed. Although he felt that Yizan might have another purpose, as he said, everyone had passed, and it was a bit strange that he was the only one standing on the side. The god of death. Damn god of death. Shu roared angrily, but was unable to struggle due to the disparity of power. Kun Komer. The mask of flesh and blood, all phenomena, the thing that flutters high, and bears the name of human beings. Burning heat and strife, rolling southward across the sea, and marching forward. The 31st breaking of the road, the red cannon. After a long chant, a yuhi-colored fireball formed in Matsumoto's hands. After the red artillery hit the immobile end, the poor one, who had been rounded countless times, finally let out a final wailing, full of 5.3 hearts and didn't dare to hang up. Clap clap. In the quiet space after Matsumoto Ranju made this move, Yizan's applause seemed particularly loud. Matsumoto's red artillery is used very well, and the attack position is also very clever. Yizan praised earnestly. He didn't say it casually either. Compared with the messy movements of other classmates, the frequent failure of ghost singing, the ability to successfully launch red artillery, and successfully kill the half-dead virtual Matsumoto Ranju is of course a very successful existence. No one had a problem with his compliment, because as a 5th grade student, it was not easy to successfully use a red cannon. Some 6th grade students couldn't use it. Chapter 119 just so popular. What happened next was somewhat lackluster. There was no Yachukas who pretended to be a common phantom, so the actual combat exercise ended just like that. After the end, someone started to ask Yizan about the application for joining the team. Such as power requirements. Although Yizan never hides his preference for sons over women, he still has a bottom line, at least beauty and strength must coexist. But compared with men, the requirements for girls can always be slightly lower. There are 10 places this year, and the graduation test results are used as a reference, and women are given priority. Yizan said lightly, our team's goal is to become the most powerful team in Jingling Court. Because a strong enough team can attract the attention of the girl. With that said, there will definitely be a lot of girls signing up. Yizan's idea has indeed come true. When the 6th graders filled out the volunteers uniformly, the students who chose the 10th team were the most. In this regard, Jingle Chunchui expressed regret. That's because of your floral coat. Yizan mocked him badly, your fashion is beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. My ordinary person refers to ordinary normal people. After Yizan finished speaking, 30 looked at Eyes Naneo standing behind Jingle Chunchui. If you don't believe me, look at Xiao Naneo's approval. Jingle Chunchui pointed at him and was speechless for a long time. After a while, he thought of something and asked, where's your little one? Xiao Yixin went to organize the applications for joining the team. After all, there are too many people and I can't do anything about it. Yizan shrugged and said in a plain tone that made Jingle Chunchui jealous, as for me, I still prefer it. It's a girl, but you have to grasp a degree between the team's strength and the girl. Jingle Chunchui. So I left it to Xiao Yixin to deal with it. Although that guy is a little funny, he is still a little reliable when he does things. I said, when you call, Xiao Yixin, to a man, it's like calling me, Xiao Shishu, isn't it disgusting? Jingle Chunchui said, shaking exaggeratedly, especially, that guy is older than you. Because I also want to have a cute vice captain like Xiao Shishu. Yizan said without any pressure, if not, I can only pretend that, Xiao Yixin, is a cute girl. Being your vice captain, that's really pitiful, Jingle Chunchui said with emotion. It's like training, and it's also a part of cultivation, what do you know? Yizan chuckled, I'm training him. Do you want to exercise his skin thickness? Jingle Chunchui sneered, it's all to the point where you can call yourself a little one. For this, I can only say that everything is because the vice captain is a joke. Yizan said seriously. You don't give in too much. Jingle Chunchui said. It's just my appearance. In fact, I'm a very low-hearted person in my heart. Yizan said, looking at Nanao. Also, I'm also a trustworthy man. I seem to see someone molesting my little Shishu in front of me. Jingle Chunshui said loudly, and then moved to block Yizan's sight. I'm talking very seriously. Yizan chongs him and turned to Byakugan, boring. You tease my little Shishu, and I'll tease your Rukia too. Jingle Chunshui pushed his hat and showed a sinister smile. Yizan snorted coldly, Rukia is not from my family, but is barely from Kuchiki's family. You should ask Baizai if he agrees. Jingle Chunshui was startled, and then he thought of this problem that he had ignored. Yo, so that's true. It was originally. Yizan gave him Byakugan 1. By the way, Captain Kuchiki is planning to retire. I'm so envious. Oh. When Captain Kuchiki retired, Byakuya took over, so you're, oh. Why don't you express your shock and joy? What's so shocking about such a matter? Of course. Yizan asked back. I already knew it. Jingle Chunshui suddenly turned into Dudoyan, indeed. Of course. ... Byakuya, congratulations. Yizan patted Kuchiki Byakuya on the shoulder. How does it feel to be the captain? I feel that the responsibility on my shoulders is heavier. Kuchiki Byakuya replied sternly. Yizan, I am speechless. I haven't seen you for a long time. Why is this guy getting more and more old-fashioned? Well said. Yamamoto Shigekuni praised Byakuya's remarks with respect, and said to Kuchiki Silver Suzu, who had stepped down as captain, with a grandson like Byakuya, it's no wonder that you can retire with peace of mind. The captain has to continue to work hard. Kuchiki Silverling smiled proudly. The Soul Society still cannot do without your leadership. I'm old too. Yamamoto Shigekuni shook his head. No one at the scene answered his sighs, but Sufeng, who succeeded Yi Yi as the captain of the second division, glared at Yi Shuani 127 eyes. This girl in charge must have blamed me for Yi Yi's betrayal of the Soul Realm. Who made that guy run to meet me at last? But I am wronged. Yizan shook his head and sighed. Sister Broken Bee has been staring at me, but I think a lot. Yizan said with a smile, I really think a lot. Dream. Broken Bee snorted coldly, turning her head away. Is this the first time you have met such a girl who doesn't give you face? Following Shuibei's act of not giving face, Jingle Chunshui's low-key words came out immediately. In response to this sentence, Yizan threw a left hook. Jingle Chunshui tilted his head to avoid it, and the hat was wiped by Yizan's fist and flew into the air. Swish. Yizan hooked the hat before Jingle Chunshui reached out his hand. Uncle Jingle, what did you just say? How about repeating it again? This series of actions takes place in an instant. Until this time, Jingle Chunshui's little curly hair bounced under the action of the wind. It's really your style to act if you disagree. Jingle Chunshui said with a wry smile. I didn't use spiritual power, I've already saved face. Uncle with stiff movements. Yizan defiantly threw the hat in his hand. Chapter 120-Chaotic Inauguration Ceremony. Young people are too impulsive. It's not good, it's not good. Jingle Chunshui shook his head old-fashionedly. Even if the girl ignores you, you shouldn't take my breath away. Who took your breath away? Yizan raised his eyebrows and threw the bamboo hat back to him. I'm just trying my hand at you. Jingle Chunshui caught the flying hat and raised his eyebrows, but didn't say anything. Kindle, your aura was overwhelmed by Yizan. Shiro Yukitaki said with a smile, with a look on his face looking at the show, it's not good. Jingle Chunshui's action while wearing a hat froze. Why does Shiro's words sound like provocation? Shiro Yukitaki nodded. I really want to know, who is the best between you and Yizan? This kind of thing is embarrassing to win, and embarrassing to lose. How stupid am I? Jingle Chunshui put one hand on Shiru's shoulder. You and I are about the same strength, why don't you try it yourself? Shiro Yukitaki frowned as he looked at Jingle Chunshui and coughed heavily. What does this mean? Jingle Chunshui pretended not to understand what he was implying, and looked around. Zibo Heian came out to relieve the siege at the suggestion of Shiruro Yukitaki, Beijing band leader. Our leader is not in good health and should not be tired. In response, Jingle Chunchui responded with 2 words, haha. Now you know it's not time to work hard. It's pretty lively when it's called. In this regard, Yi Zan, who is obviously the fuse of the struggle, but stayed out of the matter from the beginning to the end, said, I have been the captain for so many years, I have lived for so many years, and I am not young, but I am still so energetic. Time, really wonderful. Stop making trouble. What a formality. Yamamoto Shigekuni slapped his cane heavily. The 3 apprentices are more reliable, but it is because of poor health. This kid Jingle is obviously a lot of age, and he is not inferior to Xiaoyang when he makes a fuss. This is the inauguration ceremony of the captain of the 6th division. It's not a place where the 3 of you are noisy. Write me a review when you go back. Quote. What do I do to write a review? Yizan was the first to complain, I didn't do anything. What? Yamamoto Shigekuni raised his eyebrows threateningly. You young people are too leisurely and have no place to vent their energy, so you always find something to do. It's also that I have given you too few tasks. Damn, this is such a blatant threat. Yizan stared at Yamamoto Shigekuni and began to think of a way. This review is a bit too much to say, but you don't have to write it yourself. Let the deputy captain do it for you, and old man Yamamoto doesn't know. On the other hand, if he really doesn't give face to sending a bunch of tasks down, even if those big and small ones are rubbish one by one, it's still a waste of time. Time is life. Time stands for girl. Review, just review. Yizan shrugged. As far as I know, the number of tasks completed by the 10th division is also ranked among the 13th division of the Guardian. No, less. It's. As far as I know, it's all done by the vice captain. Your kid has only led the team out once in the past few months. Yamamoto Shigekuni said dissatisfied. Who said that? I have supported the 13th division. Not long ago, I went to Junyang to take an actual combat exercise class. The response was very good, and I got a lot of applications for joining the team. Did you make it? Yizan said proudly. Lao Su works very hard. Yamamoto Shigekuni didn't believe his words at all, but Ji Yunyan thought that all the captains and vice captains were present, so he didn't say the phrase, trying to pick up girls. Even so, he couldn't help but let out a cold snort. As the captain, you haven't worked hard enough, and you don't do as much as the vice captain. However, the vice captain is my subordinate, Yizan said without any pressure, so he should do more things. After all, I have made a lot of efforts to train him. Yamamoto Shigekuni looked at him solemnly and was speechless. Shiro Yukitaki looked at Yamamoto Shigekuni's sluggish look, covered his mouth and laughed twice. I didn't expect that after so many years after graduating from Junyang, we still have a day to write a review. Jingle Chunchui Bar put his hands in his sleeves with a look of helplessness. That's because the leader of the Jing band is so outrageous. Eyes Naneo said coldly. Xiao Shishu said this, but I will be sad. Jingle Chunchui exaggeratedly held his heart, looking like he would faint at any time. Of course, it's fake. It's disrespectful to the old. Yizan said lightly. Xiao Shishu, are you right? You kid, stay away from my Naneo. Jingle Chunchui stood in front of Eyes Naneo in dissatisfaction. Go find your little one to play. Xiao Yixin. Zibo Heian repeated in surprise, then looked at Zibo Yixin who was looking up at the sky. What about you? Yamamoto Shigekuni looked at the crowd who were still clamoring for nothing even though he was punished, rubbed his forehead with a headache, and said to Kuchiki Silverbell, sorry. Although I'm retired now, I don't need to be so polite, right? Kuchiki Silver's body was calm, and was not affected by this noisy scene at all. Byakuya, this child will have to work more for the captain in the future. Quote. You don't know. This title has spread throughout the jingling court after the 10th division went to Junyang for practical training. Yusuke Aizen pushed up his black-rimmed glasses and smiled gently. Zibo Heian felt that behind the gentle smile is obviously schadenfreude. It turns out that even the well-recognized good people have their moments of gloating. I really didn't pay attention to this. Zibo Heian shook her head. The 13th Division is located in the suburbs of Jingling Court, and it is not closely connected with other divisions. In addition, as the deputy captain of the acting captain, he is usually very busy, so this Yuhi's extremely momentary 8 trigrams has not been reported. In his ears. Xiao Yixin. Zibo Heian shivered exaggeratedly. That kid has never been called Little Rukia, this, Xiao Yixin. Captain is just a joke. Zibo Yixin was laughed at a lot because of this title, and he explained it in a set way. Small is just a description, which shows that I am young.